Is space a donut?
Stimulating late-night sports conversation for people who know that just trying to find someone sober to talk to at this time of night is like trying to find a pig on the moon.
In the early morning mist I see.
No rules news debate from around the world and around the bend. The Two Mics
Flyboard Lager
on Talk Sport.
Yeah.
Look at the light.
What all doom? The only bit I could say rabbits to was my ducks on the pond.
Yeah.
But they, just quack, 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 quack.
Yeah,
They don't actually...
not much of a conversation.
No,
really.
exactly.
A bit one-sided. A bit like the show.
Yeah, I've got a chief duck.
This is Talk Sport. We've come to the end of another week, and I'm delighted to say it's time to welcome a very, very resplendent-looking Mr. Mike, Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, Mike. I'm incredibly excited tonight.
Are you?
I just cannot believe this news about the universe. It is utterly...
Yeah, what does it all mean?
Well, what it all means is that there is something out there.
Yeah.
It started
What is
maybe a billion light years ago.
Uh-huh.
Now, do you know what a billion light years
Tell
is?
me what that is.
Well, that's the speed of light going on for a billion years.
Okay.
So how far do you think you could travel?
I've no idea. A billion light years away, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. The speed of light is infinitesimal, but you can't measure it, right?
No. Well, you can measure it.
Well, you can measure it, but it's a lot faster than the Concorde, for instance.
Yes,
But
that's the speed of sound.
Just imagine if the Concorde took off and then flew for the next billion years.
Right.
And then multiply that by about...
How far could it get?
Another million,
Right.
because that's the speed of light compared to the Concorde, which flies at the speed of sound. You see what I mean?
Not really, no.
And that's how... Well, you must be able
I
to...
actually enjoyed watching the
What?
way this whole
What?
thing was explained by somebody on Sky
Yes.
with a towel in a bathroom. Did you see that?
No.
You haven't seen that explanation?
No. What's that got to do with it?
Well, if you imagine that the universe is a towel, right, and you stretch
Yes.
the towel across the bath,
Yes.
right, and you drop a tennis ball into the middle of the towel,
Right.
basically what that tennis ball does is create a gravitational field so that it sort of sags in the middle of the towel.
Yes.
So that when you drop anything else into the towel,
Yeah.
it's drawn to that particular tennis ball, and that's what gravitational ripples are all
That's
about.
rubbish.
I thought it was really
No,
brilliant.
what it's all about is when the Big Bang happened, which created the universe, it was the collision of two black holes, right?
Well, nobody
That's
knows that.
Yes, I know
Now
that.
they're hoping
I know
to,
that.
Now they're hoping to find out
It was the
whether that
collision of
happened.
two black holes, and
Yeah.
so when the two black holes
Well, where
got
did they
together,
come from, though?
Sorry,
Where did they come from?
They came together. They came
No,
together.
but the
These two
black holes must have originally been stars, surely.
probably stars.
Because that's what happens. That black holes become black holes because they were once stars.
Yes, I know that, you idiot.
So how could that
you
be
get
the big-
sucked into
so-
black holes? You get energy gets sucked into a
Yeah,
black hole.
I
Okay?
know.
So the two black holes
Feel like
crack,
sitting next
bang,
to you.
like that, and then what happens is it sends out ripples. So, for instance,
Yeah,
your
but
bad
you still haven't
theory-
answered the original question.
I am telling
if
you.
you're telling me the Big Bang was
Yes,
started by
yes.
two black holes,
Yes.
where did the stars come from that started that black hole process?
Because time is a circle. It's infinitesimal, isn't it? Okay?
Is it?
I mean, I heard Jason talk on the previous show about if you got into a rocket and just took off and the rocket could keep going up and up and up, how long, well, it'd eventually go round, wouldn't it? That's the whole idea.
When we go around what?
It'd go round in a circle and you'd come back 1,000 years ago.
How do you know that?
Because we do know that. We've already proved the theory that if you could invent a spaceship that travelled faster than the speed of time, then
Yeah.
you go backwards in time.
Faster
We
than the
know
speed of
this.
time?
Yeah.
Well, what's the speed of time?
Light. It's faster than the speed of light.
Light time.
Which is time. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay, well,
But
I'm glad we
telling
sorted
you-
it all out.
I'm telling you, it's a bit like if you got yourself a brick
Yeah.
and you hurled it to the middle of my duck pond,
If I
right?
had a brick, I might hit you with it, actually, to be honest.
I'm trying to explain a scientific theory to you.
Yes, I wouldn't
All you're
waste
doing
it
is
throwing it into
making
the middle of a
jokes.
duck pond. All right, go on, tell me about the ripple effect then.
So exactly. So I get a brick. I go to my duck pond, make sure the ducks aren't there, hurl the brick into the middle, right?
Right.
And then what happens? You get ripples of the pond.
Yeah.
Now that's stage one.
Yeah.
Stage one of the gravitational ripple.
Yeah.
Stage two
Okay.
is when the ripple hits the side of the pond and then goes back on
Yes.
itself.
Yeah, I
That's-
remember doing
that's-
this in physics.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to have those little
Exactly.
water tables that we used to play
Exactly.
around with. Yeah.
And that's where we're at. That's where we're at, man. And it's amazing.
But you still haven't explained to me where these two stars came from in the
I've
beginning.
just told you,
No, you
you
haven't.
idiot. Well, why weren't you listening?
Why are you shouting?
They go round in a circle.
Right.
I mean, look, I've been. You've got to remember, it's a quasar-type black hole,
Okay.
and the quasar-type black holes that collide with each other are indeterminable. You see what I mean?
Indeterminable, you mean you don't know?
No.
Nobody knows.
Indeterminable in the sense that, well, there could be that. I mean, although I have knowledge, I don't have infinite knowledge that nobody else
No,
possesses.
that's true.
I don't have more
I think we
knowledge
all know
than
that.
Stephen Hawking's.
No.
But I think
Hawking.
it does prove what I've been saying for many years now, that Einstein...
Yeah. Was ahead of his time.
Einstein was ahead of his time. He got it quite right, but, it had to be proven by things happening in the universe. It couldn't just be his theory. It's happened.
It's one of the great things is reading the way that various different newspapers cover these stories. The Daily Mail, for me, has completely underplayed it. They put it on half a page on page 10.
Unbelievable.
Right? But they've got this caption. You have to write a caption on a picture.
Yeah.
They've got a picture of Einstein. It says, Einstein, original thinker.
Yes, he was a bit of an original
about
thinker.
as bad as a caption as I can imagine.
Well, that is a shocking caption.
I would have sent that one back and told him to do it again.
I mean, you've got to remember, in my book, Rooney Tunes, I proved by
How's that selling, by the way?
Yes, very well, thanks.
Yeah.
I proved by talking to a Cambridge professor that Wayne Rooney's brain is more efficient than Einstein's anyway, because Wayne Rooney's brain has to cope with more physical activity and more.
Yeah, we should get that professor on the show.
More physical. Sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? It has to cope
I don't know what
with
you're looking
more laws of physics, turning a ball from a corner into the direction of the goal. With the wind shear factor,
well, if
with
Wayne
the spin
Rooney,
on the ball,
if Wayne Rooney is
with the objects between him and the goal,
yes, but if Wayne
then
Rooney
Einstein had to work out.
is the protagonist of that, what does that make Lionel Messi then?
Lionel Messi,
yeah. Well, you'd have to say Lionel Messi is even more talented than Wayne Rooney.
I think you can equate the two. But you see, what you've got to understand about the gravitational waves is you mustn't forget
Ripples.
You mustn't forget the laser interferometer gravitational wave observatory theory. You mustn't forget the binary Newton stars black holes, because they're not just ordinary black holes, okay?
Yeah.
You mustn't forget the beam splitter, which is the one that divided the two black holes when they collided together.
Did they say anything about where these black holes came from?
You mustn't forget the LIGO, because the LIGO is where it's all based, yeah.
LIGO?
Yeah,
What's that?
Yeah. The LIGO is the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory pull.
Right.
And you mustn't forget any of that, okay?
No,
But it
okay.
does justify everything I've been saying about the universe for so many years. I'm so excited about it. Now, I'm excited about that because that is stellar. That is interplanetary.
Yeah.
But I'm getting very excited as well about the stock market, which seems to be falling so fast that it could almost be a black hole falling to Earth. You know what I mean?
Well, certainly all the life is being sucked out of it. There's no doubt about that, is there? Is this worrying for your portfolio?
Well, I've told you this before. The only one fear I really have in life is poverty.
Yeah.
And if
I think I'd like to see you poor just for a day.
If the stock market keeps
Just for a
crashing
day.
at the way it is, I could well find myself on Skid Row.
Yeah.
And that is not a place I particularly want to go.
Alongside all those other filthy beggars.
Yeah,
You
well,
wouldn't
that's
like
right.
it, would
yeah,
you?
no, I don't want to be a filthy beggar, to be honest. I mean, filthy beggars have their role in life, and they quite like being a filthy beggar because all they've got to worry about is where their next bottle of cheap Blanc's going to come from.
Yeah.
But personally, that's not the sort of lifestyle that I fancy or pursue or
Well, I think you've got a long way to go before
or
you
lust
become,
for, you know what I
before
mean?
you become, marooned on Skid Row.
I'm not sure about
I'd
that.
help you out. I'd give you a few quid if you did.
Oh, would you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you would, yeah. So all that's rather worrying, actually.
Yeah.
So
all very exciting stuff.
So what we can say is, in the stars, in the universe, everything good, everything getting better. You know, the gravitational ripple effect is going to open up the universe to us, open up the stars.
Well, you say that, but maybe we'll find out things that would rather not know.
Open up the Milky Way.
Yeah, but we might find things out that we'd rather not have known.
Whereas here on Earth...
You're just going to ignore everything I say.
Whereas here on Earth, the stock market plunging to Earth...
Yeah.
Now, do you know how they found out about the gravitational ripple effect?
Well, they detected it rather than discovered it, right?
Yeah, what happened was they've got this pipe in Holland. It's buried under a field, literally.
A pipe?
So, so nobody can... And they've been listening to it for 12 years.
Really?
Some guy's literally gone in every day to this office and had his ear to the pipe,
Right.
a bit like...
What, with a cup?
Yeah, well, no, not with a cup, but like an old-fashioned sort of ear horn. You know, what were they called?
Ear horn?
What were they called?
They called an ear horn.
Listening...
What, ear trumpet?
An ear trumpet type thing, almost like that.
Yeah.
Seriously, almost like that. And, of course, it's all wired up to machines and all that kind of stuff. And for the first time
An electronic ear trumpet?
Yes, that's right. And for the first time today, after 12 years, they suddenly heard this.
That's
what they heard.
That's what they heard.
I'll do it again.
Wow.
That's all they heard.
Lucky
I'll do it again.
I'll do it again. Break.
That's all they heard.
Right.
And that...
And what did that mean?
Well, that was the first gravitational ripple coming from a billion light years away to hit the Earth.
Right.
And it hit the field in Holland where they've been waiting for it for all this time.
How exciting.
So it's a huge breakthrough.
Well, I did read, somebody said this is potentially more important than the discovery of the God particle, which they're trying to find in CERN.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, look, there's the towel experiment.
I don't know what the towel experiment's all
I've
about.
just explained it to you.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I've just explained it to you, and then what he does after this, right, is he takes the towel off there, and he says, well, I'm going to put the towel on the floor, and then I'm going to slightly ripple the towel up, and that's what the ripples actually are, the ripple effect.
You can't
in the
ripple
universe.
a towel.
And so as much, you can ripple it, you'll show, you're just going to crease it like that. that, right? And then once he's creased it, he says that those little ripples, those little furrows, are what the gravitational ripples are that they've discovered, and they are now constantly being moved to either side. He's a proper reporter. He's a guy that's actually gone to the trouble of working out what's going on.
He looks like a plank to me.
Does he?
Trying to explain things with towels.
He looks a bit like Ross, our setup producer, actually.
Yeah, well,
he's very
like
far
I said,
from a
bit of a plank. Yeah.
He's an Everton fan, you know. Anyway,
we've
got loads to do. We've got to talk about Everton. We've got to talk about Manchester City, who are playing Spurs. We've got to talk about Leicester, who are playing Arsenal.
Have we got a financial expert coming on to talk about the stock market?
No.
I want to know when the crash is going to end.
None of them know.
Come back.
We can get as many financial experts on as you like. None of them have a clue about what's going on. You may well be doomed. This is Talk Sport.
Colin Murray.
And we're also going to be talking to Jim Courier.
That's a hell of a guess.
This morning from 10.
You sure they're not sending a courier with some message?
Name Jim.
Now, what did you do wrong? What did you do wrong?
I didn't do anything wrong.
It went all wrong, and I started getting the emergency calls 5 minutes after it went out saying there's only 5 minutes
you
on
were
it.
claiming that you fixed it on
Well, I spoke to the right
Twitter.
people.
Did you?
Yeah, that's what I have to do.
Who did you talk to?
What?
Who did you talk to?
What do you mean?
Who did you talk to?
What's that matter?
Hey?
I can't. I'm not boring the audience.
Well, when you
with
tweeted
technical
out,
things
right? Because it was actually our executive producer, David Levine, who got it all sorted out, right? But you tweeted out to a different Dave Levine.
Oh, yes, I did, actually.
You got him wrong.
I got that wrong, yeah. But that's...
So is that the Dave Levine you talked to?
No. I talked to our David Levine by telephonic communication.
Oh, did you?
No, I didn't this morning, but I do when I normally do. So I don't normally send out...
So you didn't talk to anybody that actually puts the podcast out?
I emailed somebody.
Who did you email?
I emailed the people who can say, look, we're not interested in this.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're
I
not.
want to pin you down.
No.
Because you're always claiming that it's my fault. And then today you went one step further and claimed that you'd fixed it. So rather than pussyfooting around, let's just name the names.
No. I think we should get on with the show because I don't see why you want to dwell on things that have gone wrong. Let's dwell on things that are going right.
Well, because you always dwell on them during the day as if I've done something wrong, and I just think it's a little unfair.
I got a lot of calls, by the way, from people saying, "Oh, well done on the old podcast download league table."
Very good, 2.3 million.
Absolutely, which got to 250,000 a month now.
Yeah.
We'd like that very much indeed. Listen,
let me read you a few tweets out before we go any further.
Okay, that's great.
Wrong Star says, "I can't listen live tonight, but I have a feeling Porky is spouting nonsense live on the radio. Am I right?"
What?
That's a good guess.
Why would people say that?
It's a good guess. JP says speed of light is approximately 186,000 miles per second.
Exactly.
Is that right?
That's what I mean. Now, hang on. Just think of that. 186,000 miles per second.
It's almost unimaginable.
And this ripple has come from 1 billion light years away.
Yeah.
So that's the speed of light travelling for 1 billion years.
So you'd be able to work out how old it is then?
Well, you'll be able to work out how far it is as well.
Really?
I mean, it's just
it is
infinitesimal. You're absolutely right.
Can you do infinitesimal?
Well, I can't.
Do you mean infinitesimal?
Yes, infinitesimal. Yeah, it's impossible to try and work that out. It really is. It really is. Yeah.
How about this one from Steve? 2 minutes into the show, and Porky's already like a madman.
What?
MG push him down a black hole.
No, not at all.
Steve says this.
I tell you what, if you went into a black hole, you'd never come out.
No, you wouldn't.
No, it's like if you're travelling in an aircraft and all of a sudden you opened the door next to you, the emergency door.
Yeah.
Wow, you'd be out.
You're just sucked out.
That's the same as getting into a black hole.
Yeah, it is a bit, isn't it? Yeah, you can't ever get back in.
No.
Steve says this: the Big Bang was Mike Parry falling through his penthouse, and the ripple was his rather large belly due to bladderation.
That's very harsh, isn't it?
Becky says Porky's now a universe and cosmos expert. Hashtag man of the universe. Give that man a white lab coat.
Yeah, exactly.
Stephen Hawking, move aside.
Yeah, I don't need one, actually.
Now,
I've understood it for a long time.
Now, luckily, because we've got a great array of listeners out there, we've
certainly
got a man called John who's in London who wants to explain the gravitational waves to us.
Brilliant.
John, a very good morning to you.
Hello, John.
John, are you there?
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, hi.
John.
Make sure you haven't got your radio on, John, because otherwise there'll be a big echo.
Sorry, it's turned off now.
Good man.
What this proves today is that, well, it doesn't prove, but it's evidence for Einstein's theory of gravity.
Yes.
Newton said that gravity was caused by two masses attracting each other.
Yes.
And Newton said that was instantaneous. So if the sun disappears suddenly, implodes, disappears, Earth would fly off into space immediately because it's instantaneous.
Oh, what you mean? Because it wouldn't be held in place anymore?
Exactly.
Right. So, but Einstein said no. Nothing can travel faster than the speed of light.
That's right.
So if the sun explodes, it would take about 8 minutes until Earth sped off because it takes light about 8 minutes to travel from the sun to Earth.
Right.
Now, what it does, so what Einstein said, the sun sends out these gravity waves.
Yes.
And those waves travel at the speed of light.
Yes.
And it would take them about 8 minutes to reach Earth.
Yeah, what's this got to do with the start of the universe? We want to explain the Big Bang and how it all started,
He's not
John.
trying to explain that.
Well, that's what I want to know.
Explaining gravitational waves.
Einstein's theories, Einstein's equations don't explain the Big Bang. They don't work for that time.
Well, who does explain it then?
No one.
Well, it's not. Today's is not about the Big Bang.
It is about the Big
gravity.
Bang. It's all about the ripple effect of the Big Bang coming and hitting Earth for the first time.
Don't shout over him. You carry on, John.
So Einstein says that how gravity works is that masses they bend space-time.
Bend.
So they bend space-time. So if you imagine space-time is a trampoline, when you put a big heavy ball in the middle of it.
Yes.
Like a cannonball in the middle of that, but all the trampoline bends down and towards that ball.
That's like my towel analogy, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you get a tennis ball, a smaller ball, and put it in the trampoline, it's going to roll towards the big ball in the middle.
Right.
So that's how gravity works, because the smaller ball is falling down.
But if you bounce the ball, if you bounce the tennis ball on a trampoline, it'll just bounce off into the ether.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't yet, but things don't bounce, and I don't think things bounce.
Yeah. Why have you come on this show to rubbish Isaac Newton? Sir Isaac Newton was one of the greatest Englishmen we've ever had.
He's not rubbishing Isaac
Newton. I say that Einstein came up with a better theory.
Do you believe an
gravity.
apple? Do you believe that apple fell on Isaac's head?
Well, the way it fell on, I don't know if it fell on his head, but the genius of Newton, he saw that the same force which is causing the apple to fall down on someone's head is the same force which is causing the planets to move around. It's all
right.
So he united earthly things with space, with things in space. So
but he came a long time before Einstein. So all Einstein was doing was bigging himself up on the theory of Sir Isaac Newton.
No, he's not. He came up with a new theory.
Well, he said he's a plagiarist.
Newton's theory couldn't explain the orbit of Mercury.
Yeah, but he didn't have a telescope. He never even had a telescope.
No. Yeah, but
Galileo invented the telescope.
Yeah, I know, but Newton's theories and equations work well for normal speeds. You can get to the moon on Newton's theories. We can fly men to the moon using Newton's theories. Yeah. But when you get to very fast speeds, you need to use Einstein's equation. They explain things much better.
Yeah, but Newton was more important. Newton was a much more important man.
Why can we not celebrate? Why can't we just celebrate both of them?
Well, I want Newton. I want Newton to get some credit because Newton didn't even have a telescope. He couldn't look at the stars, right? So he couldn't. He could not relate gravity to anything extraplanetary. What?
He said he
did have a telescope.
He said he did have one.
If you want to do a sports analogy, for Manchester United, Busby was like the Newton came up with the whole thing, and then Sir Alex Ferguson came along and made something new out of it, or bigger, or whatever out of it. So Einstein's the Ferguson. And
what does that make? What does that make Louis Van Gaal?
The black hole. He's the black hole.
Very good. Well, John, listen, thank you very much for that explanation.
Manchester United eventually
I'm not sure, to be honest, I'm any more informed after that conversation.
No. John it's very kind of John to have come on and tried to help.
I don't know why you kept rubbishing what he was saying.
No. Well, he started to confuse our listeners with all sorts of analogies about cannonballs on trampolines and all that kind of stuff. It's quite simple. Sir Isaac Newton, the brightest man in the world, sitting there in his English country garden, bang, a cock's pippin falls on his head, boom, nuts in.
It was a Cox's Pippin.
I know it was. I've read the original.
It wasn't a Granny Smith.
No, it wasn't a Granny Smith. There were no Granny Smiths in those days.
Are you sure?
Granny Smith was brought back from the colonies in the 18th century. So Isaac Newton was around in the 16th.
Right.
And he came up with the original theory. He didn't have a telescope, despite what John said. The telescope was being developed in Italy by Galileo, and it was only when we put the two together. Galileo.
Figaro is the next word.
Figaro, yeah. And then Einstein really was just poncing on the work done by Sir Isaac Newton, and then tried to grab all the glory by saying, I've discovered a few planets out there whizzing around the sun.
Yeah.
Well, we all knew that. Now, relativity, you see, what Sir Isaac Newton did was good. What old Einstein did, some would say, not so good, because he invented the atom bomb.
Well, he didn't invent the atom bomb. He made it possible for people to create an atom bomb out of what he had discovered.
Yeah, he invented the atom bomb,
Mal says this, Porky, your so-called explanation of space-time theory was as clear as mud. Shouting it out made it even worse.
Oh, really?
And here's one from Rollers who says, decaffeinated coffee for Porky pre-show in future, please.
Yeah.
Another one from James says, calm down, Professor Parry.
Yeah.
Another shouty start.
Okay.
And then Kevin says, Porky out the gates quicker than the speed of time. Love it when Christians talk about the Big Bang. Bang?
Yeah, the Big Bang, yeah, absolutely.
Is that from a Christian perspective, then?
Well, you've got to understand...
if you're from a Christian perspective, you don't believe the Big Bang was anything other than God's work.
Listen, I believe in the theory of evolution as put forward by Darwin, and I've studied the chronicles of Darwin's discoveries down in the Galapagos Islands. Turtles that live till the 220, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I believe in
different coloured birds.
Different coloured birds.
Different islands.
Different islands, that's right. I believe in the theory of the Big Bang.
Yeah.
I've always known about the Big Bang. I first got interested in the Big Bang when I was the news editor of the Daily Express.
Right.
And each morning...
I thought it was when you had that caravan in North Wales.
Why do you have to trivialise everything? So, and every morning I went to the conference, and Sir Nick Lloyd, our editor, would say...
You have to name him.
He'd say to Phil, the city editor, right, what's happening with the Big Bang?
Yeah.
So the Big Bang was in relation to the revolution in the city.
The deregulation of the city.
Deregulation of the city and electronic trading, as opposed to physical human trading.
That's right.
And I thought, where did this expression, the Big Bang, come from? I went off and explored it, because I have a probing mind, and found out all about the creation of the universe with the Big Bang.
Okay, so you still can't explain what happened before the Big Bang?
Of course I can.
How?
It goes round in circles.
Well, then it wasn't
at
the beginning, then, was it?
Well, the point is, if you're a billion light years away, it takes a very, very long time to get to the starting blocks, if you see what I mean.
But what I'm saying is if there is
the starting blocks.
No, but hang on, if there was a starting block, then where was the starting block first formed? Because that's the question everybody needs to know the answer to.
Well, it was a collection of mass appreciation...
What?
I was about to tell you, mass appreciation investiture, it's called.
What?
And that's the coming together of mass.
Yeah.
But because it's so far away...
Well, but where did the mass come from?
The mass itself...
You're missing my point. I'm saying if there was a beginning... Where was the beginning?
Well, yes, but you see...
You can't explain that.
Yeah, I can explain it, but the sort of silly question you're asking is when Christians say, who invented God?
Yeah.
Where did God come from? Right, now, can you answer that question?
Well, Christians say that God has always existed.
It's exactly what I'm saying.
But there's no scientific proof of that. There's no scientific proof of that.
But, well, of course there's no scientific proof. Nobody's seen God.
That's called faith, isn't it?
Nobody's ever seen God.
No, but a lot of people don't believe in God.
Nobody's actually, had a conversation with God.
But what we're discovering now through things like gravitational waves, and gravitational spirals
waves,
and all that.
Yes.
I mean, we are now seeing how things could have possibly begun.
Well, it's fascinating,
but it still doesn't explain what the actual beginning was. That's all I'm saying.
Well, no, but you see, you're being too demanding now. We have to take it step by step. I mean, this is a major step
I've got
forward
an inquiring mind
in our understanding of the universe. And I keep telling you anyway, it's the laser into 4-metre gravitational wave observatory plane that we have to be most interested in. And I certainly am. Right. I certainly am.
Talking of planes, actually, I've got this one from Dave, delivering asphalt on the M6, he says.
Right.
He says, for your information, if you open a plane door, you won't get sucked out of the door. You get pushed out by the pressurised air in the cabin. It's a common mistake. I'm doing an MSc in vacuum engineering, so I know what I'm talking about before Parry calls me a plank.
Yes, I know, but to all intents and purposes, you are sucked out, aren't you?
You are sucked out.
I mean, haven't you seen what was the film? I know what it was.
You're thinking of Thunderball, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm
Goldfinger.
No, I'm not. I'm thinking...
Goldfinger was sucked out of the plane.
No, I'm thinking...
Yeah, he was.
Eh?
Goldfinger was sucked out of the plane.
Goldfinger was sucked out of the plane, you're right, yeah. No, the one I was thinking about...
the time, by the way.
Don't worry about the
space and time.
Remember that film that Sylvester Stallone made when he...
Rocky.
No.
Rambo.
No, it wasn't any of those. Cliffhanger. And remember in Cliffhanger when they were trying to steal all the gold bullion and somebody got sucked out the plane there, didn't they? Do you remember?
No.
Yeah, loads of people got sucked out the plane in that one.
No. I haven't seen it that many times.
Devilish.
Anyway, we've got loads more coming up. This is Talk Sport.
Woo!
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport.
Come on!
Kicking off on Tuesday night from 7 with full match commentary of Paris Saint-Germain versus Chelsea.
It's a goal!
Followed on Wednesday night at 7 by Roma versus Real Madrid.
With a beautiful volley! What a goal!
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport with Direct Line Van Insurance. For de facto 5-star rated van insurance, search Direct Line Van.
In April, the government's new national living wage becomes law.
Workers aged 25 and over will be legally entitled to £7.20 per hour.
That's 50p more in your pocket for every hour you work.
It's a step up in pay. A step up for hard workers. It's a step up for families.
And employers will be stepping up too.
The government's new national living wage.
A step up for the UK.
To find out more about the new national living wage, visit livingwage.gov.uk.
In the details very often is the beauty. When all these little things come together, it's the ultimate feeling of completeness.
The Volvo V40R design with adaptive digital display, illuminated gear shift and 17-inch diamond-cut alloys. Now from just $259 a month, including maintenance, with Volvo Car Leasing, with an initial rental of £259.
4-year personal contract hire agreement. Offer ends March 31st. Subject to status. Mileage and return conditions apply. Rental includes optional maintenance covering routine servicing, tyres, replacement parts and repair due to fair wear and tear. Visit volvocars.co.uk for more details.
Book a test drive today at your nearest Volvo showroom. The Volvo V40R design. Life is in the details.
The Weekend Sports Breakfast with Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn.
Yo, Georgie B, kick it one time, girl.
Mickey Q, let's kick it.
Ice, Quinn. All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Scouse is here, I'm a goal tactician. Breakfast kicking off at the weekend. I'm the mighty Quinn, you'd better comprehend. Sampling pop, the two live brew. We're cooking up trouble in our breakfast stew. Deadly, never unenthusiastic. The lyric from the Whittle Brews, Mr. Bombastic. If there's a problem, you got one, Warnock. This is Vinyl Top. We'll rock you in the morning. Ice, Quinn.
Georgie B and Ice Quinny.
Georgie and Ice, Quinn.
The Weekend Sports Breakfast with Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn. Tomorrow morning from 7 on Talk Sport.
Of course, the New Hampshire primaries were this week. Now, I've got a birthday message to read out. Kelly Baker tweeted us a little bit earlier and said, my husband is an avid listener of your show. Please could you wish him a happy birthday tonight? And his name is Damien.
All right, OK,
so
Damien.
I'm going to wish him a happy birthday.
A very happy birthday to you, my boy. Hope you have a great day. You sound like you've got a smashing wife there. Hope the two of you have a wonderful life and it goes on forever.
That's very kind of you. Dan says, I think Porky's brain's been sucked out of his head tonight.
What? Oh, you're talking about people being sucked out of planes and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's rather harsh, I have to say. All I'm trying to do is to talk in plain and common terms about a very complicated problem. I can appreciate that for the majority of people listening to try and grasp the concept of something that happened a billion light years away.
Yes.
And the time it takes for that to get here is very, very hard to comprehend.
True.
That's why I'm trying to do it for you
and that's why
in as simple a fashion as possible.
It's important to get the facts and the dates right. Jack in Essex says Galilei died the year Sir Isaac Newton was born in 1642.
Yes.
Which was in fact the 17th century, not the 15th century.
No, I said 16. I said the 1600s, which is the 17th century. So I got that absolutely right. And Galileo left all the plans for his telescope, and it was taken on by those who were working in his chambers. I know that for sure.
Okay. Nom de Plume in Camden says, evening MG, rather than wasting his time getting hit on the head by an apple, why didn't Sir Isaac Newton spend his time finding a cure for cancer?
Well, I tell you what, nobody knew there was cancer around in those days, and in fact, there probably wasn't a lot of cancer around in those days.
Well, no,
cancer,
they would have been, but they just didn't know about it.
No. Cancer is something which I'm afraid man has wrought on himself by processing food,
you don't know that
smoking
either,
cigarettes and smoking alcohol.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
No,
I do know that.
Well, nobody else knows it.
I know that. When you used to eat bread made of wheat that was grown in a field that wasn't full of pesticides and all that kind of stuff, you didn't get cancer.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Somebody's upset about you saying some things about beggars.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether I think he himself is a beggar.
Oh, is he?
Because I don't think you pair have the right to class all beggars the same. Not all of us want to be sat on some street corner degrading ourselves.
Right.
I would like to see you two just live in my shoes for even half a day, because then you might just learn to be a bit more respectful.
Oh, okay.
And then he unleashes a stream of invective.
And what's the beggar's name?
He doesn't give his name.
Oh, well, if you don't give your name, mate, you can't identify yourself. You could be an imposter. You might not be a beggar at all.
Well, he's got a phone to text in on.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's listening to a radio. So life is not that bad.
Perhaps he's got a cardboard box. You know, used to be a cardboard city near here in Waterloo Station.
That's right.
Perhaps
there still are a lot of people that live there.
Is there? Yeah, perhaps they revived that then. Okay. Well,
Mick and Kent
get
says
a better quality box.
The Big Bang Theory implies there was nothing before this event because both space and time were created at the same time.
Yes.
Until recently, this was the wide-held view. However, on a recent Horizon programme, all the top scientists who listen to you, believe that there was something before the Big Bang, and this is tied in with what happens at the end of the universe, which is essentially a dark, cold place with a few photons buzzing about.
Well, I mean...
So the creation and dissolution of the universe could be a cyclical process, as predicted by Professor Parry, and also Hindu and Buddhist philosophy.
Yeah, well, you know, you have to bring all these together to get a picture of life. Listen, talking about all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I found out today?
Yeah, go on.
You know that we're going to hit an energy crisis. You know that, don't you? Because,
Why?
Because the government are closing down fossil fuel power stations before they replace them or anything.
Well, they're building that new one with the Chinese.
Chinese have got have got a contract to build a new nuclear power station.
In Wales or something? Or west of England?
No, I think it's Cumbria, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's up there somewhere. The French are being given contracts to give us new sources of power because the EDF are quite good at it, apparently. But the problem is we are going to run out of power because all these nutters who think that all the the great propellers in the sea will provide the missing power when we haven't got any from coal-fired power stations are mad because we're going to have a shortage. But guess what's going to happen when that happens?
That's why we keep trying to find alternative forms of energy and power. Yeah. And electric cars are going to be on the up, so you won't be using so much petrol.
Nonsense.
Why is it nonsense?
Just keep putting the coal...
I quite like to have an electric car.
Just keep putting the coal into the power stations, mate. There's plenty of coal in this country. Close down all the mines for no... I mean, I'm a defender of the miner. The miner should be... the miner is an honourable, noble man who goes underground and digs out coal.
It's a terrible way to make a living.
I don't care.
It's a horrible way to make a living.
No.
You wouldn't want to go down and mine and work, would you?
Conditions.
But you're happy for other people to go down and mine and work. So you can have plenty of coal and plenty of petrol and plenty of
Conditions are excellent
oil.
In mines these days.
Conditions are excellent
they
in
are.
mines.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
They get a face mask so they don't have to get pneumocomalosis and all that kind of stuff, so they don't get...
Pneumoconiosis?
Yeah, that's right,
What about vibration white finger?
Well, I think that was a bit of a myth, that, to be honest.
I don't think so.
Finger.
Not when you go down to South Wales, you find out that's not true.
I think they're ambulance chasers.
No,
they
absolutely not.
You used to see all these adverts in papers in mining areas saying, have you got white finger?
Yeah.
And then people would look at their hands and say,
why are you making fun of the Welsh?
No, I'm not.
You are.
Oh.
It's very dangerous, that.
No,
we might be going to Wales, soon.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I'm not making,
I don't want to have you turned away at the Severn Crossing.
No, I'm not. That finger's a bit white. What's that
No,
then?
vibration white finger was a real problem. In fact, I did a whole series of stories on it when we were running the Welsh Mirror.
Nobody knew about it until all these lawyers came along and started trying to find people with white finger.
Not true.
I mean, what kind of a job is that? You say being a miner's not a good job. Fancy being a lawyer going around knocking on people's doors and saying, have you got a white finger?
It's a lot better than working a few hundred feet underground.
Because if you've got a white finger, I'll get you a few £1,000 from some, fantasy injury compensation board because the governments in this country just like giving money away to people for no particular reason. Yeah. Anyway, what I was going to say is, the point of my story is that we're going to have so little energy that soon, I am told by those people who know, power companies will have the ability to just close the energy down in your house like that.
Really?
Bang. Just like that.
Yeah, but there's a rule against that, isn't there? They can't cut people off anymore the way they used to do, because, I remember from my days of being a student, students were always getting cut off because they hadn't paid their bill and one person moved out.
Sure.
But they're not allowed to do that anymore.
No, but I'll tell you what they can do. You see, the energy systems in houses are more sophisticated these days than they've ever been, in the sense that you have a dial to turn your heating up and down, all that kind of stuff.
Well, a thermostat, you mean?
Yeah, thermostat. You can boil a kettle and all that kind of stuff.
Got that.
Hang on.
Not everybody has that.
Well, a lot of people do. You can boil a kettle and all that kind of stuff.
You can boil a kettle?
Yeah, you can boil a kettle,
Well, you've been able to boil kettles for, decades
Right,
now.
well, I'm about to tell you what the energy companies will be able to do in the future.
What?
They will be able to send a signal to your house, which means you can't turn up the temperature.
Right.
You cannot...
So it only stays at a certain low level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You cannot run a hot bath.
Right.
It will not boil water for a hot bath. You can't have a bath.
Right.
Your kettle will be deactivated, so
you'll
can't
still
boil...
have light, presumably.
You will have light, and you will have a heat up to something like 20 degrees or something like that.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But you will not be able to put it up over that.
Is this if you don't pay your bill, or is this just in general?
No.
Just to ration it.
You've paid your bills, but we've got so little energy in the future that the power companies, I believe, will have the ability to... It'll be like communist Russia.
No.
They will have...
You're saying you believe this rather than you know it?
I believe it's going to happen because I spoke to the experts and the people who know this thing. Experts in the supply of energy.
Really?
Yes. Sorry, what do you find funny about that?
When was the last time you ran into an expert in the supply of energy?
Well, I
down at Wetherspoons?
No, you idiot.
Isn't that bloke that greets people warmly every day? Hello, old fellow. I'm an expert in energy conservation or some rubbish.
Have you got no appreciation of the world around you?
I have indeed.
You need to know about these things.
Yeah.
You need to know about these things,
well,
right?
First of all, you think everybody's got a thermostat, which they haven't.
Well, a lot of people have.
Yeah, well, I haven't got one.
There are Well, I bet you have.
I haven't got one in my place in London.
I bet you have.
No, I haven't.
Well, how do you heat the place?
What do you mean, how do I heat the place?
How do you heat it?
It's got storage heaters in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you turn them on or off.
Yes, that's right.
But there's no thermostat on the wall.
Within those storage heaters are thermostats, you fool. Don't you understand that? If there weren't, they'd blow up.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Thank
the
you.
Individual,
So you do have thermostats?
No, you're talking about the ones on the wall that you can just move with your fingers.
Well, any sophisticated heating system has to have those.
Yeah, but I haven't got that.
To regulate it.
I haven't
but
got
all I'm saying is, we will come to the day when, you're going home, you've had a poor day, it's very cold, you get through the door.
It was very cold this morning, actually, yesterday morning.
Yeah, quite, it was. And you say, I'm going to run myself a hot bath. Do you know what will happen? You'll get to your bath and it'll say, hot water unavailable. Yeah. It will. That's what the energy companies are going to do. Do you know, like, the one thing that communist Russia never ran out of, well, two things never ran out of.
Hot water?
Never ran out of hot water, and they never ran out of light, and they never ran out of fuel.
Right.
The only problem was they didn't have any way of exporting it in the dark days of the Soviet Empire.
Yeah, but they have now, though. They've got great gas pipelines going everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So they didn't have a problem because they had tons and tons of energy. Yeah. Tons of it. They just couldn't export it
anywhere. But this is still one of your theories anyway. There's no
it's
truth
not.
To any
no,
of it.
It's going to happen.
No, it's not.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's more kind of scaremongering that you get involved in here.
Here, I've got a piece here. I've just found
time,
it.
By the way.
An energy company...
We're going to run out of time.
Listen, don't worry about the time when we're talking about energy.
Yeah.
An energy company is trying to reduce electricity usage during peak periods by taking remote control of home appliances. Tempest Energy will be able to control devices at any time, but is most likely to switch them off from 4 to 7 p.m. when overall demand is highest as millions of people arrive home from work. How about that?
I mean, I remember the 3-day week. I remember the 3-day week when we only had an hour of electricity in the morning, an hour of electricity in the evening.
God, I remember that. Why didn't the country go bankrupt?
Well, we had candles, because there was a miners' strike going on.
I remember being in a pub.
I mean, when I do tell my kids these stories, they look at me as if I'm talking absolute gibberish.
I remember being in a pub with my mates.
What did you do? So we sat in a cold room wearing coats with candles.
I remember being in a pub with my mate. We were drinking to candlelight, and of course, what we were drinking came out of a bottle because there was no electricity for the pumps to pump the beer up into your glass.
I know.
Unbelievable.
I know.
And we had to walk there because there was no petrol, because the petrol tanker drivers were on strike.
It's turning into one of those Monty Python sketches.
It certainly is.
We were happy though we were poor.
Yeah.
Now, here's one. Dave's still delivering asphalt. They're not happy with you. He says, Mike, you completely disregarded what I said, so I shall repeat. Right. You do not get sucked out of a plane.
Okay.
The cabin is pressurised, which pushes you out. Same as in space, the vacuum does not suck you out. Vacuum is the absence of pressure. There is also no historical reference about an apple falling on Newton's head anywhere. It's a made-up anecdote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think he's overstepping
You've
the mark
got to read
there.
your historical journals, mate, like I read mine. Yeah. How do you think he got the idea of gravity and the gravitational pull if an apple didn't land on his head?
Maybe he got sucked out of a plane.
No, he didn't, because there weren't any planes in those days. Maybe he fell out of a tree himself.
Yeah, maybe. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport. All bustle and explosive energy.
Don't miss out.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. We've got a massive weekend of Premier League football coming up, Mr. Parry. We've got Chelsea Newcastle later on Saturday, right?
Yes.
5:30 kick-off. Then we've got Arsenal Leicester and Aston Villa against Liverpool.
Yeah, we have indeed. But if you look at the fixture list overall, isn't it amazing to have the top four playing each other over the course of a weekend, which could decide the destination of the Premier League title?
Yeah, it could do. I mean, maybe a bit premature for you to say that.
I don't think it is premature at all.
Well, we'll see. Let's talk to Mark Donaldson, a man who's eminently sensible about these things from ESPN. Mr. Donaldson, very good morning to you.
Good morning. I had a conversation with a guy at work today, and I pretty much said the same that Mr. Parry had said. If Arsenal beat Leicester, if Arsenal beat Leicester, Leicester will not win the league. If Leicester beat Arsenal this weekend, they will win the league.
Well, you'd think so.
Is that your sole prediction then, Mark?
I just look at Leicester's I think it's 7 of the next 10 after the Arsenal game, and I'm thinking, you know what? If they play the way they can play, they'll win more than they'll lose of those games. And the Arsenal game, for me, I'm not saying it's the title decider, but goodness me, it could go such a long way to deciding if they're going to win it.
Of course it could. And Arsenal are vulnerable at home to these sort of games, aren't they, Mark? I mean, look at the start.
But Arsenal beat Leicester already once, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But, I mean, I'm talking about the first game of the season. Arsenal at home lost to West Ham, didn't they? They are vulnerable to these sort of big occasions. And I think it's something to do with the worry factor that Arsene Wenger constantly demonstrates on his face.
I did a piece on ESPN FC earlier this week talking about exactly that. The difference of Arsenal playing away from home when the pressure's off. We saw it at Bournemouth. They could have won by 5 or 6 at Bournemouth. The pressure's off. And it's the old chestnut. And this is an interesting one for you guys to chat about as well. Is it up to Arsenal or the home team to put on a show to get the fans behind them? Or is it up to the fans at any football game to get behind the team before the team shows anything? I mean, it's like chicken and the egg scenario here.
It is. It is a chicken and the egg scenario.
there's a boycott being asked for as well. Arsenal fans are being asked to boycott the first 5 minutes of the game, which I think is a follow-on from what happened to Liverpool last weekend. But
that's the Champions League ticket prices.
Yeah, something like that, which is really not the time to do it, is it?
No, it's certainly not. I mean, look at the last two games at home. Porky's right. I mean, Chelsea, they lost, and they had a fair bit of the ball. Southampton, okay, Fraser Forster was magnificent. Yeah. But, look, I'm over here in Connecticut. I watched the games as well. I'm not at the game, so I don't know what that Southampton game was like as far as the fans are concerned. Highbury was known by others as the library because there was a lack of atmosphere. I've been to the Emirates 2 or 3 times, and it just seems to me it's pretty difficult to generate an atmosphere in that place. And I really hope, I mean, if Arsenal are to win the league, good on them, but I really hope if they don't win the league, it's not the kind of lack of atmosphere that prevents them from doing so, because look at Leicester, there's no pressure on them. You go to any game at the King Power Stadium, the fans are half an hour before kickoff, they're going crazy, and they get a great reception. Yeah, they get a great reception for the warm-up, and then right from kickoff, it's like a 12th man, it's like a tidal wave. I just don't see that at Arsenal.
No, you've got to ask the question, how much is the Emirates responsible for the fact that Arsenal have won, nothing of consequence? I mean, I'm not rubbing out the FA Cup. The FA Cup's a magnificent trophy and all that, but they haven't managed to get themselves a league title since they moved there. And Ray Parlour does an awful lot of work for this station. You know Ray well, Mark. And, Ray talks with such great affection about the days of playing at Highbury. The atmosphere there, the feeling of being, amongst your own and that kind of stuff. And it's a much, much more remote atmosphere at the Emirates. One reason being, really, because of the way they designed the stadium to make sure that the pitch was in good shape, with all these open top areas, at the top of the stands. And the noise dissipates out. It doesn't come into the stadium, it goes out.
Yeah, and the fans at Highbury were a lot closer to the pitch.
Of course,
The team I follow, Hearts, in Scotland, I mean, they are literally, the fans are right on top of the players, and every away player who plays there says it's probably his favourite place to go and play because the fans are right on top. Yes. And I think they were more on top of you at Highbury than they are at the Emirates. Yes. Now, Arsenal's home form this season, apart from the last 2 games, is pretty good. Apart from that West Ham game, they haven't lost another game until Chelsea came there. However, I think I remember right, there's a number of games where they've been struggling to try and score despite having so much possession, and then it hasn't been until the end of the game that they've got the goals. So they've got some decent home games coming up. After Leicester, they've got Swansea, West Brom, Watford and Palace at home. Yeah. And to be honest, if they're going to win the title, they're going to have to win all 4 of those. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I just love the fact we're talking about a title race involving someone a little bit different in England for a change.
Yeah, and we haven't mentioned Spurs properly yet, really, either. Well, I mean, if they beat Manchester City, and Leicester beat Arsenal, you wouldn't necessarily say that means Leicester are going to do it.
I think they've got a great chance, Spurs. I really do. They could. Spurs, to me, Mark, are like the horse that's galloping third 3 furlongs out, if you see what I mean. And if they see any weaknesses in the teams above them, whoosh, they pick up pace, give it a kick, bang, and they head for the winning line. Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah.
And
there's only one horse ahead of them at the moment. I don't know what he's talking about.
And by the way, Spurs Arsenal. I think it's the start of March will be a good one. People are talking about obviously Leicester and Spurs first and second. Yeah. Chelsea could have a big part to play in this title race. Yes. But for the first time, not because they're in the title race. I think Spurs play Chelsea third last game of the season, and I think it's Chelsea against Leicester final game of the season. Right. So I think from a Leicester perspective, they would hope if they are going to win the league that it's done and dusted, because I don't think they would want to go to Chelsea on the last game and have to get a win to get the title.
No. Do you know where Leicester have got to go on the last day to win it? Goodison Park, Everton.
He just said it was Chelsea, didn't he?
Sorry?
No. It was Chelsea.
No. I'm sorry about that. I think they... it could be the penultimate game. But certainly Leicester are visiting Goodison in the last week of the season, put it that way. Now, Mark, I need to ask you this while I've got a minute or 2 left. The MLS, of course, burgeoning out there. You're following it very closely and all that. Is that now under threat from the massive amounts of money the Chinese are now deciding to pump into football to attract footballers from around the world there?
What are you asking about China
because it's very
relevant.
I think what it's under threat from, Porky, is the 30-somethings and not getting their fair share over here. And the three of us have had the conversation many times in the past. There's got to come a time. We've had Giovinco over here, and he's run amok in this league, and he's still playing for Italy while he's playing for Toronto. So there's got to come a time where we get players that are in their prime, better players, not 30-somethings. As much as it's great to have Gerrard and Pirlo and David Villa.
Yeah, but even those guys who, you know, are star names are going to go to China in future. They're not going to come to America anymore.
Yeah. Well, here's one for you as well. Obviously, there's been speculation about Terry and where he's going to go in the Middle East. Is he coming to MLS? But the one story I've heard over the last 24 hours, and to be fair, it's not so much to do with MLS, is that the Chinese, whose transfer window doesn't shut until I think it's towards the end of this month, they're preparing and making plans to make Fernando Torres the highest paid player ever in world football to take him to China.
£500,000 a week.
It could be whatever they want it to be. Because, by the way, they offered Odion Igalo at Watford $300,000 a week to go to China, and they said no. Watford said no, or the player said no. He didn't fancy it as well. So this is another interesting thing. Looking at the kind of player's perspective, do you want to set yourself up for life, but go to a culture and a civilization which you're going to have to live there for 2 or 3 years to make that money?
Yes.
And to be honest, you're probably going to live like a hermit for that.
Yes.
Do you want to do that? Is it worth it, or would you rather stay put and earn less?
Porky would do it for the money, no question at all. He already lives like a hermit.
Excuse me. I don't know what you're both laughing at. I live a life of contemplation. I go to work.
What are you going to do in China?
I go to work, I go home, and I contemplate on tomorrow's work. That's the way I live my life, you know.
For one.
I don't get out into excessive bladderation, falling around in gutters and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Now, listen, I've got a much more important question to ask about something Mark is very close to his heart, because he tweeted out before he came on the show, he wanted to sneak in an Edinburgh Derby preview.
Right.
So now's your chance.
Yes, and I thought I was going to have a Derby preview because Hearts were 2-0 up in the first game. But this gripe is not so much about a Derby preview because Hearts play Hibs on Tuesday night at Easter Road.
Yes.
And I think Hibs are slight favourites because they don't appear to have the kind of bottle merchants tag that they had under previous managers. Alan Stubbs, who will, by the way, go on to either be the Celtic boss or have a really good career for himself. Porky knows him.
Because he was trained
in England.
He was trained at Everton.
Exactly. He was there at the youth level and did really well, and he's done a great job at Hibs. But the gripe that I've got, and it's to do with the SFA as well, never mind the whole Scottish Cup farce of a draw with 8 balls and they still managed to balls it up.
Yes.
They have put the replay dates, and they'll say, it's to do with the clubs. Nonsense. The replay dates next week go up against the Champions League games on TV. Therefore, there is no live television allowed of the Scottish Cup replays. Rangers go to Kilmarnock, it's Hibs against Hearts. So unless you've got a ticket for Easter Road, you can't see it because of this ridiculous rule. If there's Champions League action taking place, you cannot kick off between the hours of 7:45 and 9:30.
It's a damned outrage. It's a damned outrage, Mark. It really is.
Absolutely mad. Unfortunately, because of that Chinese nonsense, we're out of time. We can't ask him any more questions. Mark, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Mark Donaldson there from ESPN. Lots more coming up on Talk Sport.
The Barclays Premier League on Talk Sport. 100% football all weekend, every weekend.
Oh my word, he's put it beyond the goalkeeper.
Tomorrow afternoon from 5, Chelsea versus Newcastle.
And it's slid in by Diego Costa.
Sunday from noon, Arsenal versus Leicester.
Wow!
Followed by Villa versus Liverpool.
What a goal!
Plus, around the grounds with live reports from every game throughout the season. Official partner of the Barclays Premier League. Talk Sport.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. I've got something very interesting to tell you in a moment.
Oh, yes, what's
about
that?
a story that you revealed to us a few months back, actually.
Oh, right.
But I'll get to that in a second. Let
me just read you a few.
That's my haggis.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got to have... Well, don't bounce it. I'm going to eat that.
The bouncing haggis?
No, don't bounce it.
How much
you'll
you
bruise
pay for
it. You'll bruise it.
70p?
You'll bruise it. It was brought to me as a gift.
Reduced 70p?
Yeah, it was brought to me as a gift.
From Marks and Spencer, Scottish haggis?
Yeah, it was brought as a gift.
Well, shouldn't you have eaten this on Burns night?
It should have been eaten on Burns night. I did have some haggis on Burns night, but I don't mind eating haggis all year round. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it home and I'm going to have it for breakfast and give it to the kids.
Well, can I tell you something?
What?
It's out of date.
What do you mean it's out of date?
This should have been eaten by the 11th of February 2016.
Well, that was yesterday.
Exactly.
Well, that was 2 hours ago.
Well, I'm sorry, mate.
Well, I'm going to eat it in about 6 hours.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Are you going to eat it for breakfast?
No, I'll have it for breakfast.
You're going to risk it, are you?
Well, of course I'm going to risk it. I mean, you and I have spoken many times about the sell-by date.
Yeah, but this is waffle.
Waffle?
Isn't it? What's it?
Do you mean offal?
Offal, sorry. This is...
It's not waffle.
Yeah, offal.
No, what you talk is waffle.
And what I'm saying is, offal
Haggis does not go off in the space of 8 hours.
I'm not sure about
Trust
that.
me.
Are you going to eat it with whiskey?
No.
Spoonful of whiskey?
No, I don't think so. No, I'll have it with. I'll have like what's called a full Scottish breakfast.
Why did you bring it in anyway?
I didn't bring it in. It was given to me as a gift. I told you by the executive producer. He came.
Really?
He got a habit of going into shops and buying stuff as it's about to be sold off very cheaply.
Okay.
And he spent very kindly 70 pence.
Yeah, I don't know why you have to bring that into the studio, frankly.
Well,
I
because
prefer to keep those sort of things in their place.
Well, because he gave it to me as I was coming. Well, he gave it to me as I was coming in to do the show, and I didn't want to, misplace it. Because the thing is, if you put it down outside, I'll forget it, and I won't take it home.
Very strange behaviour. Anyway,
I'll send you a picture of it later.
Anyway,
you
got some messages here from our appreciative audience.
Yeah, they seem to be split.
I mean the audience we appreciate.
Yes, indeed. They're a bit split on some of the things you've been saying.
Right, go on then.
Because this one, for example, is interesting. From Paul in Hockley in Birmingham. Porky's talking a lot of sense tonight, which proves the old saying, there's a first time for everything.
Oh. What does she mean by that, then?
She
referred to...
His name's Paul.
Oh, I thought you said Pauline. I'm sorry. Paul in Hockley. In Hockley, I see. I know Hockley.
Not Pauline Hockley.
That's in Worcestershire.
He says it's in Birmingham.
Well, it is. It's on the sort of Birmingham border
with
Worcestershire.
Not in Worcestershire, then, is it?
It is.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's on the border of Worcestershire. It's one of those great sort of kind of suburb, small towns of Birmingham.
Is it right? Okay, Kevin says this. Porky says his source is from a pipe in Holland. Need I say more?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
I think he's suggesting
they've got this pipe in Holland.
It's the kind that you put hashish in.
No.
Here's one from James, who says, after listening to Porky explaining the universe, Professor Brian Cox can sleep easy in the knowledge his job is safe.
Oh, that's a little dig then, is it? Yeah.
Patrick says, leave it to Porky to walk all over that caller with his pseudo-intellectual rubbish.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, the guy came on and he was so straight-laced. I don't like straight-laced people normally when we're talking about very exciting developments and theories. You know what I mean?
What do you mean you don't like straight-laced people?
Well, you've got to have a...
I thought he made a lot of sense, that guy, but he was kind of going around in circles, I thought.
He was, I totally agree. The way that you can communicate with people are two ways. One, the words that come out of your mouth, but two, the way you deliver them.
Yeah.
And it's the delivery, which is often more important, in my view, than the actual factual detail of what you're trying to tell people.
Now, how about this one from Andy in Falkirk? He says, Porky might like to know that wind power is Scotland's fastest growing renewable technology.
Yeah.
In fact, wind power generated the equivalent of 48% of Scotland's entire electricity needs last month.
That is rubbish.
What does that mean?
That is
what is the equivalent of 48%?
I'm sorry, it's utter rubbish.
Eh?
I can only tell you that we have to use conventional forms of power to keep wind turbines going when the atmosphere is not doing it for you, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, i.e. you have to start up some wind turbines and actually motor them by feeding gas or electricity into them. You have to. I mean, it's fact of life.
Yeah.
And to say that they've been...
Well, you mean they don't just operate by wind?
No,
no,
they don't. No, they don't.
Are you sure about that?
I'm certain about that. The other thing is that to say it provides 48%...
Because, I mean, given the fact, for example, the fact that we've had these massive windstorms lately, you'd think that we'd be generating loads of wind power.
You can't store it. That's the problem.
Yeah, you can.
You can't.
I thought you stored it in a battery at the bottom of the thing.
You can't. I swear to you, you can't.
Are you sure about that?
If you could store it, that means every time there's a hurricane, you could keep going for the next 2 years without a problem. Yeah. You can't store it. And the other thing is, can I just say this? I don't believe for a minute it provides for 48% of the total electricity need of Scotland. I just don't believe that. And the second thing is, to provide 1 kilowatt of electricity from a wind farm is at least 100 times more expensive than providing 1 kilowatt of power from a conventional coal-fired power station.
Okay.
That is for sure.
I'm not going to argue with you because I haven't got the knowledge to do so.
Well, I know, and that is the price.
I suspect that you may not be quite right with that.
I am quite right, and that is the price we are paying for the Green Lobby, frightening us to death that the world will get too warm if we keep having coal-fired power stations, which the Chinese are building at the rate of 1 a week, by the way.
Yeah, indeed they are. Yeah. John says, I'm 1,500 miles offshore and I can't listen to or download the show, but love reading the tweets. Porky must be abusing the Xanax and booze again, he says.
The what?
Xanax. Xanax, yeah, it's a sort of a depressant.
Is it? Oh, no, I don't need
here's one from Maxwell who says, geez, I think I need to lie down in a dark room after Porky's ramblings about gravity.
No. I'm just trying to put it into perspective. Listen, I wanted to talk to you. Have you finished reading those?
Yeah, I have.
Good. Yeah,
I want to tell you about this story that I spotted earlier because it's something that you alerted us to a while ago.
Right.
And I've got a feeling that I was astonished at what you were saying, but they found
didn't believe
another
me.
one of these rotting feet clad in a sneaker, a training shoe.
Would this be in British Columbia?
In British Columbia.
That's right, yeah.
Apparently it's the 16th one to be found in 9 years.
I know, it's
a couple of
unbelievable.
walking along a beach on Vancouver Island,
yeah,
and you can see that the sneaker is still, pretty much in pristine condition.
That's right.
It's a New Balance sneaker, they call it. But the authorities have said, don't worry about it. They've already found 13 other feet. 10 have been identified and linked to suicides or accidents.
I know. It's
very weird, isn't it?
It's very weird. It's either suicides, accidents. The other theories are that these people, for some unknown reason, get caught up in the propellers of boats and their feet get cut off. And the third theory...
I don't think it's that, isn't it? That the fish or sea life of some kind that eats the rest of the body and can't get through the actual training shoe.
Yes, and I was just about to say to you, the other one is that the bodies might come as far away as the Caribbean, right? But the what's that flow that comes right up from the Caribbean up to the north?
What do you mean, the Labrador Current?
Labrador Current, or the other one, which is the Gulf Stream.
The Gulf Stream.
Yeah, brings the stuff up. And that they have been attacked by sharks, they've fallen off boats or something like that. And you're quite right, the only thing the sharks spit out are the fabric around the shoe.
They don't like the shoes.
They don't like the shoes. And they like it just like a message in a bottle.
Right.
They float then on the tidal drift and they end up where they are in British Columbia. Yeah.
Now, it says here that this guy probably died sometime between
there's
March.
a picture of my pipe in Holland. See? On one of our internal monitors, they just showed the pipe in Holland.
Oh,
there it is.
It's a very big
there
pipe.
It is. There's the pipe in Holland.
That's a huge pipe. But where does the pipe go?
It goes underground.
Yeah, but from where to where, though?
Well, it's around a place called Arnhem, which is where a famous battle was fought in the Second World War.
No, I know, but what's the purpose of the pipe, though? Well, does it contain anything?
No, the pipe is a listening device. I explained to you, it's a listening device.
Well, you didn't explain that. You explained that a guy was listening to the pipe.
That's right.
But you didn't say what the pipe was doing.
Yeah, at each end of the pipe is an aerial, right?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Okay.
And the aerial picks up...
going up into the sky?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Where do you think aerials go?
Well, I don't know.
Do you think aerials go down into the ground?
Well, for example, I've got an aerial in my car.
An aerial.
I've got an aerial.
Air is the clue. Aerial.
Right, but I've got an aerial. Right, hang on, though. I've got an aerial in my car, right, which does not, in fact, protrude at all.
Yeah,
and it's somewhere in the windscreen. Yeah. So it doesn't go in the air at all.
Yeah.
So you got that wrong.
Yeah, no, I haven't got it wrong at all.
Well, where's the aerial in your car? Have you got an aerial?
Of course not.
Where?
Mine's the most modern car on the road.
Yeah, but you've got an aerial, haven't you?
No.
Yes, you have.
No,
How else would you get reception on the radio?
Because it's ultrasound.
Ultrasound?
Yeah, so it doesn't need an aerial.
You're sure?
Yes, I'm certain.
No, you've got an aerial that's built into the inside of the windscreen.
No, there's a little peak on the back of the car, okay? Yeah. And it looks like, the sort of thing you'd find on Thunderbird 2 or something like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that is the information receptor.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's an aerial, but what I'm saying is it doesn't stick up in the air, does it?
No, most aerials on the ground do. Now, what I was going to say was...
anyway, I said this guy died between March 2013 and last December.
Who did?
The guy with the foot.
How do they know that?
Well, that's because they've examined it. It's a coroner who's looked at it.
Do you know what else?
They can age the bone, can't they?
They can age the bone, but do you know how else they can tell?
How?
You won't believe this, but this is true. The model of trainers manufactured by all the major brands like Nike and Adidas, sometimes the style and model has only been in production for 36 hours before it's changed, literally.
36 hours?
Yeah, honest to God. And
what, do they decide they don't like it?
It's not that I don't like it. That particular mould or that particular machine that produces that model is suddenly needed for something else, and it stops making that shoe and starts making that one.
Right.
But when the outlet I tell you about down in Gunwolf Quays in Portsmouth, I can go in there, I can buy a pair of trainers, I can go back the next day.
You're wearing them tonight?
No, I'm not actually.
We're wearing tonight.
Well, yeah, I am actually. I'm wearing a pair of Nikes. Yeah, you're right. I am. Yeah, I've got about 10 pairs. So you can go back the next day, and I say, look, I'm sorry, I got these home, but for some unknown reason, they don't fit me. That's my normal size, 9.5.
You try them on in the shop.
Oh, I can't be bothered. Can you?
Well, you can't be bothered trying them on in the shop, so you're quite happy to go all the way back. That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
that's idiotic.
No, I'd be back there shopping the following day anyway or something. And I'll say, look, do you mind if I swap them for a bigger pair? And they say, good luck with that one. I said, what do you mean? They said, they've gone. And you go down these huge, rows and aisles of shoes, and the model you've got has been discontinued.
Oh, right.
It's gone. So what I'm saying
but that doesn't mean somebody couldn't wear them for a few years.
Well, no, but they can identify, by the state of the shoe, probably how long the shoe's been in.
Well, they can identify by the state of the bloke's foot how long it's been in the water.
Yeah, but it's much easier to look at the shoe, and they can go back to Nike and Adidas and say, look, so we've got a foot floating around in a shoe here. This shoe looks like this. Send them a picture, and they say, well, that was only made between this date and that date. date and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that would help them trace it.
Well, not really, because you can wear those shoes for years.
No, you don't understand.
Yeah, of course you
the
can.
The mentality of people these days is throw away shoes.
Well,
people only wear them for a few weeks.
How do you know what the mentality is of somebody who might have thrown themselves into the sea?
No, they haven't thrown themselves into the sea. They've probably fallen off a boat or something, and they have the most modern shoes, you see, these boaties or yachties, whatever you call them.
Thank God you're not an investigative police officer.
Right? Is that right?
Anyway, lots more coming up. Right now, we are the two Mikes. This is TalkSport.
Those generous folks at Paddy Power just can't stop giving. To convince Leicester fans that their jaw-dropping season isn't a dream, they've made a machine that can pinch multiple fans at once. And this offer is very real too. For the first Premier League match on TV every Saturday and Sunday, bet £20 pre-match and get a free £10 in-play bet. This Saturday it's Sunderland v Man United, and on Sunday it's Arsenal v Leicester. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Excludes in-shop bets. Qualifying bets must be placed at odds of 1 to 2 or greater. Free bets must be used in featured match. Stake not included in winnings. T&Cs apply. 18+. Gambleaware.co.uk.
In April, the government's new national living wage becomes law.
Workers aged 25 and over will be legally entitled to £7.20 per hour.
That's 50p more in your pocket for every hour you work.
It's a step up in pay. A step up for hard workers. It's a step up for families.
And employers will be stepping up too.
The government's new national living wage. A step up for the UK.
To find out more about the new national living wage, visit livingwage.gov.uk.
Bienvenue au weekend sports breakfast avec Michelle Quinn and Georgie Bingham, Sir Talk Sport with Benno Vance. It's the breakfast show that cooks up a souffle of sport and a pan au chocolat of pre-match build-up every Saturday and Sunday morning on Talk Sport. The hors d'oeuvre to another big weekend feast of football.
Hey, La, does anyone know the French for meat pie?
The weekend sports breakfast with Mickey Quinn and Georgie Bingham. Saturday and Sunday mornings from 7 on Talk Sport with Benno Vance. 4 years warranty and roadside assistance as standard. Ooh la la.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast.
Well, I didn't have any luck yesterday at Chester.
This morning from 6.
I'm trying to work Saturday, Sunday, get my money back.
On Talk Sport.
Child of God, he was walking along the road. When I asked him, where are you going? This he told me.
Is this the Matthew Southern Comfort version?
Yeah, it is, yeah. That's right, yeah.
I told you they used to live next door to me, didn't I?
Yeah, that's right. You told me. What was the name of the lead singer? Ian somebody?
Matthews, wasn't it?
Ian Matthews, you're absolutely right. Matthew Southern Comfort, yeah. And that song was first sung by Joan Baez, right?
Uh-huh.
And the reason I was talking to you about this is I get sent all these books all the time. I got sent a book called Small Town Talk, okay? It says the story of Bob Dylan, the band, Van Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix and friends in Woodstock. It's written by a guy called Barney Hoskins, okay? And
I think I know who Barney Hoskins is. I don't know why I know that name.
Yeah, well, you might do. I mean, he writes books about American rock and roll stars, all this kind of stuff. But it's a fantastic book, Mike, because the reason the Woodstock concert took place at Woodstock was because the guy who decided to make it said, where does Bob Dylan live? And they said, Woodstock. Yeah. Right, that's where we'll go and have it. Because if we do it there, Bob Dylan will come and play.
Right. And anyway, it wasn't actually in the town, was it? It was somewhere on a dairy farm.
60 miles away.
Yeah.
The nearest,
it's called Woodstock, but it wasn't
exactly.
there.
The nearest place they could find was 60 miles from Woodstock, right? Where they had but they invited Bob Dylan. He never came. Right. And that was the whole purpose of taking it up there in New York State. But the reason he didn't come is because he felt that Woodstock had become too commercialised and people had found him. Now, what this book tells...
Well, also, he was very much a folk artist in those days, wasn't he?
Absolutely right.
He didn't regard himself as a rock and roller.
You're so right. He wanted to get out of New York because he thought, I don't want to be a rock star and all that. I want to be what I am, strumming an acoustic guitar. So he goes up to Woodstock, and you're absolutely right. People there were so laid back. It says, initially, few in Woodstock even knew who Dylan was. Yeah. They regarded him as a freaky beatnik who took his guitar to bars and rode his Triumph motorbike badly on treacherous tracks, often with Joan Baez sitting on the back. Yeah. Those who had heard more didn't care. It was a place where you could kind of go and get your thoughts together. In fact, it was much more than that. In this engaging book, the veteran rock writer Barney Hoskins delves deep below below the surface of the town he calls a staging post between Greenwich Village, which, of course, you and I know very well in New York, and the great American wilderness.
Yeah, right.
And that's what it was.
Well, 400,000 people descending on a place that small.
Exactly.
Must have been quite extraordinary.
Exactly. Bob Dylan was 22 years old when he went up there. He felt that he was going mad, being treated as a like almost as a guru.
Yeah.
You know, a musical guru down in New York, and he moved up there. And he says because of Dylan, Woodstock and its neighbouring towns became a refuge for countless musicians fleeing the craziness of fame and or their demons.
What, this is after the Woodstock Festival? You
This
mean?
is after the Woodstock Festival.
Right.
Within a few years, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, the band, and Van Morrison, he's the Irish guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Among them arrived. But it is Albert Crossman, Dylan's greedy, gregarious manager, who is the book's main player. A confidence-boosting confidant, as much as an advisor, Grossman installed Dylan at his holiday home in Bearsville, that's a suburb of Woodstock, believe it or not, or the village next door. In the summer of '63, the singer became a regular at Woodstock's Cafe Espresso. Can you imagine, driving into this little town and going for a cup of coffee in the local cafe and finding Bob Dylan in there writing a few songs?
Right.
Even before the owners lent him a box room in which to write his songs to keep him away from the public. In 1964, he was introduced to LSD and given a guest cottage on Crossman's estate, by which time he'd fallen in love with his soon-to-be wife, Sarah Lowndes, and was plotting his move into electric music.
Yes.
So that was the great transformation,
it was.
You know what I mean?
I think it was Joni Mitchell who actually wrote the song Woodstock. But,
was it Joni Mitchell? Yeah, no, you're right, yeah.
It was Joni Mitchell. But, I mean, funnily enough, Woodstock is a place that I know from much later on, because one of our friends, good friends in New York, Shannon Sweeney, photographer, her family were from Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
And she was a bit of a hippie herself.
She
and
was,
you sort of weren't that surprised that she was from a place like that. But her parents were sort of quite important people up there. Her dad was somehow involved with sort of civic authority or something like that.
Yeah.
But the weirdest thing happened. We went to his house.
Right.
And then she invited us up, and she was married to Dickie Lay, the guy that used to
I'll tell you about Dickie Lay in a minute.
To be a
lovely man.
He was a lovely man. But we used to get into fight. He used to think of himself as a pugilist, right? And whenever he got drunk, he would always come up to you in a bar and put his fists up.
Yeah, come on, then. Put him up.
And a couple of times, he and I sort of tangled on the street outside some bar.
That's right, yeah.
And he also accused me of trying to sleep with his wife.
I know.
At one point.
And she was not a beauty queen.
She was not, I have to say. It's a lovely girl, but
she was a lovely girl.
Not been on the old radar.
Well, I mean, when I say she wasn't a beauty queen, she was very much a tomboy.
Yeah.
She came from this rural community. She was a photographer.
Yeah.
She used to carry all these clunking cameras around with her and all that kind of stuff.
Very good photographer as well.
Yes, she was very good.
And she was one of the few Americans who could work for Fleet Street, because the Fleet Street needs were completely different from what the Americans were. Anyway, she took us up to this house, right? And a lovely house in sort of just on the outskirts of the town of Woodstock.
Yeah.
And walked in and was suddenly aware of all these figures, in sort of odd places. Yeah, well, I thought people. They were sort of one standing up over there. There was another one kind of on a couch.
What were they doing? Like, it's a meeting?
Well, it turns out they were mannequins.
Mannequins?
Because this guy's business was to create these mannequins. But they weren't just ordinary mannequins for models.
Yes.
What they were the ones that cities and towns and various countries would buy when they were doing these like mock nuclear war things, right?
Yeah.
So when you would do, they do them now when they do these kind of drills, like if there's a terrorist attack in London.
When you see one of these adverts of a car getting crushed against the wall and all that.
But instead of using real people, they place all these mannequins. And the guy made a fortune out of it because, he was selling them to like New York City, to Detroit, to Chicago.
I think you'll find only the other day in this country they did some sort of mock terrorist exercise, didn't they?
Right,
things lying all over the road.
But here they tend to use real people. Whereas in this day and age, anyway, in America, they used to use these mannequins, but they were anatomically perfect, but they were also covered in all sorts of horrible injuries.
And that was her father's business.
And that was his business. So there'd be one with like half its face missing.
What was the house like? Was it a tumble-down old sort of mansion?
It was a big house, but it was very what you might describe as
run down.
Not really run down, but very kind of ramshackle.
Rural ramshackle.
Very ramshackle.
That's
and,
amazing.
There was lots of sort of different colours and lots of different sort of blankets over chairs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But it's very spooky because all around the house, like you walk upstairs to go to the toilet, and at the top of the stairs...
Imagine getting up in the middle of the night without lights on.
That's it. At the top of the stairs, there was this one figure which had like half his face burned off.
Good God.
And half his arm missing.
Yeah.
And, it was horrendous.
What an odd business.
Very strange.
Old Dickie, by the way, Dickie Lay. he was one of the first people who ever greeted me when I got to New York.
Yeah.
You know, in those days, we all had offices down the same corridor on 42nd Street.
Yeah, in the Daily News building.
In the Superman building, where they filmed Superman and
Daily
all that.
Planet,
Daily Planet and that kind of stuff. And I remember on day one, you know, I was in the office on my own and, you know, nobody else had arrived. And all of a sudden, door open, going, hello, I'm Dickie Lay, how are you? Typical English gentleman. Yeah. He'd left his home in England, rented it out, and lived in a little village somewhere in Oxfordshire or something like that. And his mates look after his house and all that kind of stuff. And he missed playing for the local darts team and all that. But typical English gentleman. He was a pretty good journalist, Dickie. But then he went into the arts.
Yes,
do you remember? And he started coming.
Started writing plays.
And he started coming into Costello's and doing that thing with his finger and thumb on each hand,
making a square,
forming a square.
And
looking at you.
And also, he started wearing a beret, didn't he?
He started wearing a beret, and he had he started putting his cigarette into a holder.
That's right.
And he came in and forming this square with his finger and his thumb. He talked you through this, looking at your face. It's a thing that film directors do to see if your face would fit into a camera and all that kind of weird stuff.
And his plays were awful.
Oh, they were shocking.
Remember, we went to one night. It was like off Broadway.
It was unbelievable. Just to support him because he was one of the gang, you know, one of the Fleet Street mob.
Well, we were all drunk though.
Oh, we were all drunk, yeah. And he said, "You must come." And so George Gordon went as well. And George, who was his boss at the Daily Mail, you know, and we go down there and we're all bladderated and all that. And we're sitting there. And then this play comes on. It was appalling.
It was awful.
And there was a room of about 70 people.
Yeah.
And the only person...
And he also had these very earnest, sort of wafer-thin Greenwich Village-type actresses in them.
But they all did it for free.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, he was trying to make his way as a playwright.
That's right.
So he advertised, didn't he, in, you know, what's that paper, down in the village, the paper.
Yeah.
The Village News.
Voice. The Village Voice.
Village Voice or something, yeah. And, you know, aspiring actors and actresses wanted. And these people would turn up. They were useless. I mean, they were hopeless. The reason they weren't actors and actresses, they were no good.
Yeah.
And they were hopeless. But the thing was, Dickie would always sit at the front, fold his arms, and then for the next hour and a half, everybody else was bored stiff and sneaking out the back to get a drink.
Yeah.
Dickie was laughing his head off all the way through. Nobody else found anything funny at all.
No.
Nobody else could work out what was going on.
No, exactly. He fancied himself as a cook as well. He was the most awful cook.
Yeah, he did.
And they had a place down in the village, and we used to go down for dinner sometimes.
Yeah.
As we used to call it, his famous his repertoire included a sort of a rubber duck, we used to call it. Because he made a duck one time. It was so horrible and chewy that nobody could eat any of it. Absolutely horrendous. Great guy, though.
He was a great guy. And funny enough, he died a few years back.
He did.
And Shannon rang me up because I'd done a few jobs here in America.
Yeah.
We did worldwide wrestling up in Ohio and all that kind of stuff, you know. But anyway, she said, oh, you know. So I said, OK. So I went to see the Canon at St Bride's in Fleet Street, where we have the memorial services. Yeah. And he said, yeah, OK, no, how many people will be coming? So I said, I don't know. I said, about, I don't know, 70, 80, 90, 100. I said, and I rang Shannon and said, oh, Dickie always used to talk about all his mates back home and all that kind of stuff. How many people would come to a memorial service? She says, Dickie hadn't got any friends. Nobody would come, so we didn't have one.
She remarried rather suddenly as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she did. Quite quickly after his death.
Very interesting.
Not that cast any aspersions on her.
You're not insinuating she might have known the chap that...
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't say anything like that. This is Talk Sport. Sandra Lee's coming next.
Oh, my God.
Get ready to roar.
How do you like us,
Brian Moore's Full Contact.
But if you want the news from the rugby field, Brian's got the phone in to keep you rock and rolling. Drop kicks, line outs, once more into the breach. Full Contact's the show where the pit bull's off the leash. Brian Moore. He's on full contact, more.
Brian Moore's Full Contact. Tackling all the issues and charging down the biggest names in rugby. Sunday night from 8 on Talk Sport.
And there is the full-time whistle.
How do you like us,
Talks. Quiz time a little bit later on in the show. Right now, though, it's time to go to our favourite Australian, Ms. Sandra Lee, down in Sydney, Australia. Sandra, very good morning to you.
Good morning, chaps, and I hope you're having a lovely morning.
We are. We're very excited.
Porky's
very excited by this scientific discovery of the old gravitational ripples. He's been busy trying to explain it to us all.
You know all about this, Sandra?
I've heard about it, but I know nothing about it, so don't even go to me for any help on explaining it. I've got no idea.
Well, don't worry, he doesn't know anything about it either.
No, Sandra, 99.9% of the world can't understand it. It's so complex. However, I do. Next time you're over here, I'll buy you a few bottles of champagne and explain it all to you.
Oh, bottles of champagne?
Yes, why not?
You're always giving me a hard time for drinking champagne.
Yeah, but she's a lady. You know what I mean?
What do you say? It's a lady's drink.
Well, I'm not saying that. It's a sophisticated lady. You're just a yobbish man. That's the difference.
Right.
Now, Sandra, we wanted to talk to you about this terrible situation that's happened in Australia, about this young couple who, or is it two girls? I can't remember now.
The backpackers.
They were attacked, the backpackers, and everybody says, wow, this is the real live plot of, what was that film called?
Wolf Creek.
Wolf Creek.
It's very similar. In fact, even in Australia, people are sort of remarking on the similarities. It is just an horrendous attack in South Australia on a beautiful stretch of beach down there, which all of the authorities and tourism authorities say, everybody must go and see this place because it's so gorgeous.
Yes.
But nobody expected, a German and a Brazilian tourist to be set upon by an Adelaide man who is old enough to be their father and has been charged with attempted murder.
Oh, so have they got him then?
Yeah.
Yes, they've got him. They got him on Tuesday evening, and he was in court yesterday, charged with attempted murder, alleged rape, a whole string of charges. It's just, it's pretty terrifying, really, what he did, and just so incredibly lucky that those two girls managed to survive it.
Yeah, so just to clarify this, they've got an alleged suspect, have they? And the guy's going through the sort of legal system, yeah?
That's right. He was in court yesterday, our Thursday, and he will be back in court in April to go through the charges once more and see what happens. And obviously the police are now putting together their case against him.
Yeah.
And they reassured everybody yesterday that he was the only suspect that they were looking for. And, in fact, they were thinking that they're investigating other crimes that he may have been involved in.
Because the thing about Wolf Creek, for me, which I find, I don't know if you've seen it, Sandra, but it's one of the most frightening films I think I've ever watched.
Really?
And I'm not easily scared. I mean, it's not really a horror film, it's a sort of thriller, but it's very tense. But you get this impression from here that, there's parts of Australia which are almost uncharted, where some of these kind of characters can live and kind of can stay hidden for years.
Well, that's right, and who knows what goes on out in the outback, especially. I mean, that was a whole story that was eventuated from one of your two of your tourists, Falconio and Joanne Lee.
That's
exactly, yeah.
Because in that case, they thought they doubted her story, didn't they?
Yeah, they thought she'd murdered her boyfriend.
They thought the idea of some kind of crazy lunatic coming out of the bush was so outlandish that she must have killed him herself and made it all up.
Yes, that was exactly the case in the early days, and she really had to prove herself for that. I mean, it was a terrifying ordeal, not only what she went through at the time, but then what, the authorities put her through afterwards, the poor woman.
Oh, indeed. They went to the scene, they said none of the clues added up and all that kind of stuff. The thing is, Sandra, because we have this fantastic image of Australia from this part of the world, from the Northern Hemisphere, of it being, just one great sort of park, really, and you can go anywhere in Australia, walk on any beach, go to any part of the wonderful coastline, and it's so safe and so free. Is this why the authorities get so worried when these sort of horrendous crimes happen? Because of the image of Australia, the land of the free around the world?
That's exactly right, Mike. Yesterday in Adelaide, a whole bunch of tourism authorities and, international travellers come on down. They all got together and said, we've got to do everything we can to put out the message that it is not dangerous. Tourists still come.
Oh, absolutely, because as I say, it's the great outdoors, isn't it? And that's why people come to Australia.
Did you go to the great outdoors when you were there?
No, I went to
the great indoors.
I went to the great indoors. I went to
from bar to
every possible cocktail bar I could find in Sydney. The higher up a tower block they were, the better the view over Sydney Harbour and all that kind of stuff. I stayed at the Hyatt on the Rocks, Sandra, because they've got a great bar there, and as you know, it's right near the Opera House. And I spent quite a few lunchtimes in a place called the Lord Nelson, a traditional sort of English pub, And
you were working while you were there, right?
No, I wasn't really. Right. I was facilitating.
What were you doing?
Well, my girlfriend was a PR with a PR company who represented Qantas.
Which girlfriend was this?
So I flew there first class.
Which girlfriend was this then?
Well, I don't want to get into the details.
No, you haven't mentioned this one before.
Actually, I tell you what, Sandra, I got a lucky break because I thought I was going to have to spend the week with her, and after 2 days she got recalled to London, but left me in Sydney.
Don't you mean she got a lucky break?
No, I got a lucky break, mate.
No.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you, Sandra, I know it's not happening in Australia, but I know you follow these things avidly. What are you making of the old Hillary Clinton? We've got a quiz on Hillary Clinton coming up a little bit later. And what are you making of the old Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton bun fest that's going on in your former place of work?
It is just incredible. I think it's hilarious. I mean, I love the sort of the nomenclature that goes around the Republican candidates. They're all calling it the clown car. And the fact that Donald Trump is seriously... It is a clown car. And the fact that Donald Trump is ahead in the polls is just absolutely astonishing.
Yeah.
I mean, can you see a situation, because I'm struggling to see it, where basically Sanders and Trump are the two nominated candidates, and that's the choice that is facing, what is presumably the world's greatest, most powerful nation.
Mm-hmm.
You do. I don't want either of them with their finger on the button. That's for sure.
No, but I mean, it's not impossible to imagine that that's what we're going to end up with.
I mean, it's likely at the moment. It might end up like that. It is strange. Having said that, Sandra, of course, you live in a country where over the last few years the politics of Australia and who rules and for how long and coups in the cabinet and all that have been pretty prevalent, haven't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got our own set of clown car going on down here.
Yeah.
Five prime ministers in 5 years. Who'd have thought?
And none of them any good, really.
No, I think pretty much the voters will be sort of sending that message at the election in September when we have one, September, October.
Right.
But I think the candidates between Trump and Sanders, both of them are saying exactly the same thing to the same audience, and they're both pretending to be outsiders.
Right. Yeah, I know, it's nonsense, isn't it? Now, can you also shed some light on a story? Paul's been banging on about this story to me for ages, and I don't know whether you've spotted anything about it, but he claims that there's a species of bird, which is apparently becoming responsible for spreading wildfires in Australia because they pick up twigs and bits of tree from bushfires and carry them to places that aren't on fire and set fire to them.
Yeah, they do.
And does that ring any bells with you?
It's absolutely 100% spot on.
No.
Thank you.
Yes, it is. It's true. Porky is right. And the thing is that this has been going on...
Yeah.
It's been going on for decades, and our first Australians, the Aborigines, have been telling stories about this for decades and decades, and scientists have been sort of recording it, but it's only becoming more and more well known in recent times as more of the sort of oral history from the Aboriginal people is getting out. And scientists are saying that, yes, it's absolutely true. There's two species particularly that do it, one called the black kite and the other one is the brown falcon. And they're incredibly intelligent. They pick up the smouldering embers of twigs and they drop it at another spot to flush out all of the undergrowth, the animals in the undergrowth. So basically, it's a free feed.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're actually doing it for a reason.
Oh, they do it for a reason. No,
you've never said that.
Oh, no, I did. I tried to tell you. They start the bushfires, and then, like in any situation involving a fire, people run for the exit.
Yeah.
And what's running for the exit are little things like mice and voles and shrews and all that kind of stuff. They run out, and then the birds, and one of them, the main predator, as Sandra said, the black kite, swoop down, and as you're quite right, Sandra, say they've got food banked then for a week.
Yeah, exactly. And what's better is they're cooked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly.
A very bizarre country you live in. Now, what about the shark situation? What's been going on down at Bondi this last couple of weeks since we spoke?
Well, we've had a week of no sharks. I can happily report that nobody has been attacked and nobody has even come in for a near miss.
Right.
So it's been shark-free days. But as soon as anything happens, I will let you know via Twitter.
Yeah, please do, because, we get very concerned about the shark situation down there, particularly as there's another story floating around at the moment about feet turning up in British Columbia, Sandra, severed from bodies, which they think are the remains of shark feed down in the Caribbean, which then floats north, and the feet are still in the Adidas trainers.
Oh, dear. Yes. They're sure they're not sort of the victims of mafioso or anything like that.
No, apparently not. They're saying they've had 16 in the last few years, and they've been able to work out that at least 12 of them are people that have just been victims of accidents or suicides. So it's all very odd.
Very bizarre.
It's a very sort of macabre lot of questions you got.
It is, indeed.
Wolf Creek.
I know, Wolf Creek,
That's right,
severed feet.
Yeah. Okay, well, we just call it the Oz Horror Show next time we give you a call, Sandra.
Excellent. Well, have a very happy Valentine's Day weekend, and we shall talk to you soon, Sandra.
Yes, Sandra, lovely to speak to you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure.
OK, thank you. Lovely.
What a lovely girl she is.
Beautiful lady.
Now, how about this from Becky? She says, any truth in the rumour that Radio Beijing have offered 50 quid to take Porky to China as a football expert? P.S. He does like Chinese food.
I tell you what, if you've got that gig down there, you'd be in a lot more than 50 quid. Because if you add yourself to the economics of football in
China... Why don't you give your old mate Sven a call? Go down and do a couple of shows for him.
It's not a bad idea. Sven.
He might remember you.
Got an Ericsson.
You never know. This is Talk Sport.
Got a very nice girlfriend, a silly haircut.
Drive on Talk Sport, the UK's only sports-dedicated drive time with Sky Sports. The sharpest analysis on all the day's action from the giants of sport.
Shane Warne is with us on the show. How you doing, Shane?
G'day, guys. How are you?
Laser-guided comment and rapid reaction from a nation of sports fanatics.
Into the corner of the net.
Drive home with Darren Gough and Adrian Durham.
Who else?
Weekday afternoons from 4 on Talk Sport with Sky Sports, the home of the Barclays Premier League.
It's how London buys its cars. Car Giant.
To get behind the wheel of your dream car and to enjoy giant choice and giant savings, there's only one place you've got to go.
Car Giant, of course.
Car Giant. Car Giant.
With up to 8,000 used cars in stock, don't dream it, drive it. Search our latest selection of vehicles now at cargiant.co.uk.
It's how London buys its cars. Car Giant.
When you need all the latest form and odds on all the day's sporting action and you need it fast, you need the Coral Daily Download. Get all the latest news and great offers on all the big games and all the biggest race meetings in one essential package. Delivered to your ears at the speed of sound. Don't miss the Coral Daily Download every morning on the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast from 6 on Talk Sport with Coral. Your best bet for breakfast.
Differently interesting extra time communion for minicab drivers.
Take the money and sit back down again.
Breastfeeding mums.
Oh, you've not been giving it its breakfast again, have you?
And people disturbed by urban foxes engaged in the act of lovemaking behind their bins.
Anybody there?
The two Mikes. Overworked, overweight, overpaid, overnight. On Talk Sport. Talk Sport. Available on all.
One-way ticket to the moon, Choo Choo Train, all that. Very popular in the late 70s.
All right, it does sound like that. Let me give you a few tweets. We've got a picture here of somebody called Dougal, who sent a picture of his vibration white finger.
Oh, well, let's have a look.
And he says, does Porky think all my blood's been sucked out with the black coal?
Well, you see, that's interesting.
Genuine, isn't it?
That's genuine, and it's not just one white finger; it's four white fingers, and it looks a bit like the man has had his fingers immersed in sort of
bleach or
something. Yeah, or I was going to say spirit. What's that stuff you do?
Surgical spirit
to clean brushes or something like that,
right.
and not yet recovered. But I have great sympathy for anybody who's got that sort of thing. But unfortunately, I think it's an ambulance chasing job.
I don't think you're right about that. Alex says there are many wind farms sit idle up here because despite all the wind, as a lot of the time it's too windy for them to work.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Now, this is something we might get into a little bit later on.
Yep.
Tom has sent a picture in of the new Top Gear lineup. It says, what are your views, if any, on the BBC's new Top Gear lineup?
I don't know a lot of the people in it, actually.
Well, there's 7 people, which are quite a lot of people.
We know who Matt LeBlanc is. We know who Chris Evans is, obviously. Yeah. The Stig is a character from the last one.
Yeah.
I don't know the rest.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody does. But I think the idea that there's 7 of them is upsetting quite a few people. William says, why do you need 7 presenters for a motoring programme? Is it another case of broadcasters wasting vast amounts of money?
Well, we'll see. Now, is that song we came into, right? Choo Choo Train. Do you know why I wanted to draw your attention to Train?
Yeah.
I'm absolutely appalled. I am a reader of the Times.
Yes.
I call that the Thunderer.
So am I.
It is one of the world's most famous newspapers.
I subscribe to their iPad edition.
You do indeed, right?
Do.
Okay. Well, in that case, you may have seen, if you got that far through the paper, that there was an obituary this week for Gordon Goody.
Gordon Goody. Yes, I didn't see that, actually.
Right. Now, do you know who Gordon Goody is?
Yeah, I think so, but I can't think of his...
The last surviving member of the Great Train Robbery.
OK, yes,
But this guy's attitude to life was very much like the guy at the start of The Sopranos. He said, I always dreamt of being a burglar when I was a boy. OK?
Yeah.
So what was the line in The Sopranos? I always wanted to be a gangster.
No, you're thinking of Goodfellas, aren't you?
Goodfellas, sorry, yeah Goodfellas.
For as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Gangster, that's right, yeah. So anyway, what I'm appalled about is that why would the Times, a paper of great respectability, write an obituary to this scumbag criminal?
Well, because they would presume that he was some kind of historical figure, I suppose.
Historical figure? Yeah. This man was a member of a gang who went around coshing Jack Mills, the driver, on the head, which led to his
but you might as well say
retirement and early death.
But and it's not the law of the obituary writer to judge somebody for what they did, whether it was morally good or bad.
I think it's disgraceful.
Well, you might as well say people shouldn't write about Jack the Ripper.
No.
Because Jack the Ripper did horrendous, horrible things.
Well, people don't write obituaries about Jack the Ripper. They write stories about the horrendous crimes he committed.
If somebody was ever to identify Jack the Ripper, I bet you the Times would do an obituary on him.
I mean, listen to this. It's dreamy stuff, you know.
They did an obituary on Lord Lucan.
Yeah, but Lord Lucan has never actually been proven to be the killer, if you see what I mean. So that's why they wrote the obituary on him. Anyway, listen to this. Dreamy stuff in the obituary page of the Times. Lying by the trackside on a balmy August night in 1963, they were minutes away from the great train robbery, the most audacious heist of modern British crime history.
Yeah.
Goody adjusted his favourite balaclava. Armed with a Spanish truncheon, which he regarded as his lucky mascot, he went forward and started the raid.
Right.
I mean, you know, come on.
But that's because the story, I mean, albeit that you say it was a horrible thing that they did and it was a nasty crime because of the injuries caused to the driver and all that, but, you know, it is still of necessity a piece of cultural history in this country.
Within minutes, the gang had unloaded 120 mailbags from the high-value coach on the train containing £2.6 million in banknotes worth more than £40 million today. Mills never recovered from his injury.
No, that's
Goody
right.
swung his 6'3" frame on board. He grabbed Mills in a bear hug from behind and pushed him back. They're not saying that Goody hit him because they still don't know who did hit Jack Mills. Which one of the, you know, the cowards who hit him?
They didn't think it was Ronnie Biggs, though, did they?
No, they didn't think it was Ronnie Biggs either. Yeah. But I just find that, you know, this even to this day, we're going on about the heroes, the great train robbers. They were good villains. They weren't. They were scumbags.
No, listen, I don't disagree with that. However, I don't think you should necessarily then gloss over what they did and pretend that it didn't happen and not write an obituary for somebody who was part of what was a very historic, crime that was committed.
Yes, the judge said at his trial, on sentencing him at Aylesbury Crown Court, Mr. Justice Edmund Davis remarked, "You have manifest gifts of personality and intelligence."
Why are you talking like that?
Well, I'm talking like a judge.
Oh, okay.
Which might have carried you far had they been directed to honesty. What are you laughing at?
How do you know he talks like that?
Judges talk like that.
They don't all talk like that.
Goody was consigned to the toughest British jails and considered such an escape risk that an army detachment guarded him for a time.
Really?
Inside, he learnt Spanish and tied flies for fly fishing, which had been one of his hobbies. He got out and he emigrated to Spain. Now,
so he lived in Spain in his latter years.
He did, He later retired to Spain.
Right.
But he the story's not in his obituary, but the story I remember was, I always wanted to be a burglar when I was a kid.
Yeah.
He was a Borstal boy and all that kind of stuff. He was a career burglar.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, Mike, very close to where we are now, our studios at TalkSport here are very near Waterloo Station.
They are.
One time when I worked for the Birmingham Mail in London.
When you were in charge of their office.
In charge of the Birmingham
the two other people that worked there.
Excuse me, there were 7 of us.
Oh, I think you told me there was about 20 last time.
Well, there were 7 journalists, there were 13 production people and sales and all that kind of stuff. They used to pick up big sales contracts in London. And it was in Fleet Street above the Woolwich Building Society, okay?
Yes. Was that one by the Catholic Herald? It was the Catholic Herald was there as well.
Yeah, it was actually quite close to there. Anyway, point of the story is, because we're running short here, I was told one time, go and find Buster Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
Because some story...
He was the guy Phil Collins played the movie.
Exactly. Right. That was the Buster, the film, right? Anyway, he was a flower seller at Waterloo Station, literally just round the corner from here. So I went out to find him, and it was all this, what do you want with Buster and all that kind of stuff, before you get to speak to him. And I spoke to him, whatever.
Was he there? Was he standing there?
Yeah, he was standing there selling flowers.
So did he have a protection guys?
No. He was trying to find out where his flower store was around Waterloo Station.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What do you want to talk to Buster for? Yeah. But anyway, the amazing thing was, a week or two later, I read an interview with Buster Edwards, and he said, at lunchtime, I nip over from my flower stall to the pub opposite, he said, and I have a few drinks, and I take the messages and pass them on.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw a copper a few days later, and I said, you see that? I said, that means he's engaging in criminal activity, doesn't it? If he's passing messages on between criminals. He said, yeah. I said, why don't you nick him? He said, most of the messages he gets are from our boys undercover.
Really?
He said, we use him.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And he was used the rest of his life like that, because he'd become a celebrity criminal.
And he never knew.
Yeah,
or did he know that he was a police sort of informant then?
No, he didn't. No, the police said no. He didn't know that we were passing him messages and all that. But very, very quickly, he came to a sorry end. Hanged himself in a garage around the corner from Waterloo Station. Yeah, yeah, for some unknown reason. Nobody knows. Yeah,
very macabre stories are coming out with tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah,
we've got lots more coming up. We've got still plenty of gravitational force type emails and text to read out. We'll do those next on TalkSport.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. How about this one from Dave, who's still delivering asphalt, by the way. He says, Mr. Parry, as part of the Royal Society, Isaac Newton was in discussions with several other scientists regarding the planets and what kept in orbit and in the positions they held. He sat in a contemplative mood and theorised about an invisible force that connected all objects to each other. This force was later called gravitational force. He says there's no apple, but it's a nice story, but historically inaccurate. He says he's got the article at home, he's going to send it to you.
Well, it's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. But actually, you don't know. I mean, to say that there was never an apple is I mean, that's just a theory.
Yeah.
There could have been an apple because there were no cameras around those days to challenge it.
Yeah.
You know the powdered cheese we talked about the other day?
Well, yeah, but except it wasn't powdered cheese.
Well, I said I think it. I'm talking about Parmesan now.
Parmesan,
I think it only comes in like grated form.
Funny enough, I made some soup yesterday using the rind of the Parmesan.
Oh, did you?
It was lovely,
You said you were going to put that in.
Yeah, it was really good.
I discovered today there's such a thing as powdered alcohol.
Really?
I mean, did you know about this?
I don't think so. Did we not talk about the fact that they might introduce it?
No,
there isn't actually anything like powdered alcohol now.
I think it's already with us. I think that, and apparently, it's
says licensing laws have been rewritten to protect kids from the craze of powdered booze.
Yeah, exactly.
What craze of powdered booze?
I don't know. It's available to children.
You're supposed to snort it or something?
I don't know. No, you add water. No, you add water to it. You add water to it. I mean, you buy a packet of powdered alcohol.
Yeah, where, though?
Powdered and vaporised alcohol has been banned in 21 states across the US.
Right.
Anyone selling it without a licence will face an unlimited fine. It's made by mixing alcohol with a starch-like substance and can be added to water or, as you quite rightly said, snorted or, like marijuana, baked into cakes.
Really?
A London cocktail bar heats booze into a fine cloud to be inhaled. What's that called? Freebasing?
Well, I don't think you can freebase alcohol, can you?
Well, it says here, a London cocktail bar heats booze into a fine cloud to be inhaled.
I think you need alcohol to freebase.
Let's go for a snort, man.
That sounds ridiculous.
Let's have a Pinot Grigio.
A line of Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
But they're not selling it here, though, are they?
Yeah. It says licensing laws have been rewritten to protect kids from the craze of powdered booze.
Right.
Crime Minister Karen Bradley yesterday changed the definition of alcohol.
Prime Minister?
No, Crime Minister.
Oh, Crime Minister.
Crime.
I thought old Cameron had stepped aside there for a minute.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. So it must be available in this country. Better go and find some, because that'd be quite handy to carry around with you instead of a bottle, wouldn't it?
Well, no. Why would you want to carry it around with you?
You know, sometimes...
in case you need a quick hit.
Well, I'm just thinking sometimes if we're travelling on a train or a plane or something like that...
I'm quite capable of travelling without having a drink.
Going to a show, we could carry a packet of that in our pocket, right? Seriously.
No, but I don't.
And on the train,
I don't need to have alcohol with me at all times.
Hang on, if we're in first class, I'm thinking it through now. If you're in first class, you just ask the guy pushing the trolley around, give us a couple of cans of sparkling water, mate, and then you just get your plastic cup, put your powder in, put your water in. Hey, you're away.
No, you see, that's
fantastic.
That's the difference between you and I. You drink in order to get the effects of it. I do it as a sort of an exercise in enjoyment.
Do you know what else you could do?
What?
You could order yourself, the sandwich on the train and sprinkle your alcohol powder on it. Why not? Have an alcohol butty.
I think you're giving away way more than you want to by saying all of this.
No, I think it's a great idea.
Just chuck it into spaghetti bolognese as
But I'm
well.
not
Save
sure
having a glass of wine with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure about going to the old cocktail bar and inhaling the vapours.
I don't think that's a very good
sounds
idea
good.
at all.
I'm up to any challenge when it comes to
we'll see if we can find some. Maybe somebody can tell us where they can buy some of this alcoholic powder. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. A couple more texts to read out to you that have coming on 8 to 1089.
Yeah.
John the Trucker says, tell Porky that Hockley is bang in the middle of Birmingham. It's by the Jewellery Quarter, the Donut.
Is it?
Yeah, he says it's definitely not. It's definitely not on the Worcestershire border.
All right, thank you for
and
that.
this one from Big Al says, Porky, don't wear your slippers on holiday as a shark will eat through the material quickly.
Yeah, well, that's right. You're absolutely right. Put trainers on, you won't get eaten by a shark. Well, they'll eat most of you, but not your feet.
Right.
I've got one here. It says, it's from Matt. He says, Porky speaks waffle. That is absolutely right. However, haggis isn't waffle.
Right, okay.
And another one here. It says, now this
It is awful, though.
It is awful, yeah. Now, this is a good one here. Hang on, I've just lost it on my information device. Right, it says, here we go. James says... Old Porky's on form today. Looks like the Porky Quiz will be highly entertaining again this week. Can't wait.
Yes.
So people are detecting already that I'm on top form.
Yeah, I guess they are. Yeah. Mick in Leeds says this. Hi, guys. Really enjoyed Porky's explanation of the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic and how it had an effect on Vancouver Island in the Pacific.
No, I didn't say Vancouver Island. Yeah. No, I said the St. Lawrence waterway.
The St. Lawrence Seaway.
Seaway.
Yeah, but that's on the other side of the country.
No.
They're finding them all in British Columbia, aren't they?
British Columbia, that's what I meant. Well, that's the same side as the St. Lawrence Waterway, isn't it?
No.
It is?
No, I don't think so.
British Columbia?
No.
British Columbia is on the east side, right? So is the St. Lawrence Waterway.
Do you think that's
right?
Is.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Right, we'll have to check that.
Right, anyway,
now, somebody sent in this earlier, Michael, because apparently there's some kind of a site you can go on to discover what kind of dog you would most likely be.
Oh, yes?
If you were to be a dog, right? And you've come out as a boerboel.
As a
Boerboel.
I know not.
Which is like one of those dogs that looks a bit like a Rottweiler, but it's kind of got a nicer face than a Rottweiler, and it's light brown.
I think if I was a dog, I'd probably be an Alsatian.
An Alsatian?
Yeah,
well, let me read the description.
In charge, authoritative, people having a lot of respect for me, that sort of thing, you know what I mean?
Right, well, this is what a boerboel has as its characterisation. Protective nature, can cause damage when jumping, sociable and obedient only after training. That's what he's got for you. And for me, I've come out as a basset hound.
I don't think so.
Basset hound.
A basset
and it says,
hound.
easily distracted by scent, barks at strangers, a most discerning nose.
Yeah, well, excuse me, you could be, because that's a description of a follower, not a leader.
Oh, I don't think so.
I believe in leading from the front.
Oh, dear. How about this from Jim?
Yeah.
Porky is weird. He rants against MG for the apparent crime of bringing some haggis into the studio, calling this strange behaviour.
Yeah.
Yet he himself confesses to actions far weirder, e.g. breaking into nurses' quarters, obviously thinking such stuff is totally run-of-the-mill.
Oh, no, that was as a young man when we were invited back to the nurses' home. What they had to say to us was, they said, look, you can't come through the front door.
Yeah.
Just go round the back and we'll open the fire door for you. Fire escape, yeah. So when I said breaking in, I mean, what I meant was, surreptitiously entering the nurses' home in order to associate with the young nurses inside. Now, listen, the other day, I told you about this train driver, who thought he was a comedian and would tell his commuters jokes on the train journey and all this kind of stuff.
I'm just looking at British Columbia, actually, which is where Vancouver is.
Yeah, British Columbia, Vancouver, that's definitely on the Pacific coast side. Yeah, no problem.
So you got that one wrong, then?
No, I didn't.
You said it was on the east coast, where the St. Lawrence Seaway is.
St. Lawrence Seaway, British Columbia. No.
You just said it was on the east coast.
Now, where were the feet found?
In British Columbia.
Exactly.
Nowhere near the Gulf Stream.
No, of course it's not near the Gulf Stream.
No, I don't know why you said that.
Well, because the Gulf Stream is a pattern down one side of the Americas, and it whips round from the other side of the base. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Right. Now then, what I was going to say was, so I had a lot of reports sent to me about irritations in the working day, and one of the biggest ones are over-friendly and, quotes, chirpy shop assistants.
Oh, yes.
Do they drive you mad?
Well, it depends, really. I mean, you were talking the other day about when you were looking for a washing machine.
Yes.
You walked into one of these big electrical stores and you were walking around for a long time looking for them. I find it more objectionable if I walk into one of those places and nobody bothers coming up to you at all.
Yeah.
It's the same as when you go to a restaurant and somebody puts you into a seat, gives you a table, and then you never see them again.
You sit there. That's
I'd much rather they came back bouncing around and were actually quite friendly and quite chirpy. I don't mind chirpiness.
Okay. Well, I went looking for examples of over-friendly shopping stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I've got... I went on the old internet. I've got one here, right? It says, my local supermarket appears to have issued a script to its till operators who now greet us by asking what sort of day we've had and what we'll do when we get home.
Right.
My husband died just before Christmas, and I find this incessant questioning very upsetting.
Yeah.
When given courteous but short answers, they persist. If they're told to be falsely cheery, then they should also be taught to pick up on a customer's reaction, not carry on regardless. A friend of mine, when asked what she'd been doing that morning, said she'd been sitting with her partner in intensive care at the hospital down the road. The assistant ploughed on by asking, what have you got planned for this afternoon, then?
Well, that's obviously the wrong end of the scale, isn't it? I agree that you certainly don't want them. It's a bit like when you say you don't like bartenders kind of giving you the whole sort of 9 degrees of
how's your day
been,
separation,
sir? What you've been doing, what you're going to do later, what do you do for a living and all that kind of thing.
But it does drive you mad, I think. Also, I think
it's over familiarity more than chirpiness.
It is. I tell you what, I remember once I don't know what it was. I was in a car, and it was like a limo, but it was
man of the people.
Yeah, well, sort of thing. I was going from A to B, and I can't remember even who I was working with in those days. I was probably a senior executive at the Daily Express or something, you know. And the guy who was driving the car, he said he'd been demoted within the company, and I wasn't really interested. I didn't want to talk to him. He was a bore, you know. Right. But you get in the car and you say, "Oh, you're right, sir." Yes, right.
It's not like you could do in New York where you just press a button and the window goes up.
The window goes up.
And you don't have to talk to anyone.
But I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, is everything okay?" You know, and what a silly thing to say. "Oh no, I've been demoted," and I wasn't really interested. I didn't want to know. Right. I said, "Oh, why?" You know. And he said, I'm too friendly to the customers. Right. I said, what do you mean?
He actually volunteered this.
Honest to God, yeah. And what happened was, he must have been mad, this guy. Right. He had a Japanese family, right? And the three of them got in the back, mum, dad and daughter. And the whole idea was that the daughter was coming to study in England. Right. So they had to drive around London so she could see the sights, like Buckingham Palace and
Westminster,
and all that kind of thing. So I said, well, you know, what happened? He said, I decided I'd give them the full service, so I stopped the car, got out and opened the door. So I said, right, now, come on, love, you come and sit up the front, you see. Right. So this terrified 12-year-old Japanese girl or something, you know, and then what he did was, and he told me this with no sense of irony, I mean, he told me this like, you know, he'd been very hard done to. Yeah. He said he then drove round all the main, you know, tourist places and gave her a running commentary on, you know, now that's where Queen Elizabeth lives, you know, Queen Elizabeth I, she also lives in Windsor. The parents in the back were completely ignored and discarded. Right. And when this guy got back from this particular job, there's a massive complaint from this family that they'd been kidnapped by this nutter.
Because it was probably quite an expensive thing to do to hire a guy like that for the day, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But, you know, people like that who have no sense of self-awareness...
But they don't, I mean, that is the problem.
Exactly.
I mean, was it the case that that perhaps he was hoping that you could intervene on his behalf or something and say, this guy was fantastic and, you know, you must keep him because he's one of the greatest drivers of all time?
What he wanted, no doubt, was, and what he expected, he told me, he said, when I thought I got back, he said, started getting, a terrible shouting out and being demoted to, you know, second-class driver instead of first-class because you get worse jobs if you're a second-class driver or something. He said, I expected to be, praised for, showing my devotion to the customers and all that. In fact, he just became an absolute blinking nuisance.
Yeah.
And
I remember once there was a stewardess like that on a flight. I had to get on this flight with Ward Hunt, the guy that was accused of having an affair with Princess Michael.
That's right, down to
Texas. And he'd been tracked by the News of the World from Manchester Airport to New York. I had to pick him up in New York. And I got on the plane and got my seat booked right next to his.
Yes.
And instead of just sitting there, quite, because I was going to say to him who I was, but not until we sort of got down into very nearly into Dallas. But the stewardess was insistent that we introduced each other. So she came over and went, Ward, this is Mike, and Mike, this is Ward, and Ward works in Dallas, and he's an oil executive. What do you do, Mike? And I'm like, I'm just on holiday. And she started. We had to have this ridiculous conversation, which I then had to completely change. About 2 hours later.
Exactly. And all you're screaming inside yourself is "Go away, woman!"
Yeah, exactly. Stop it. Yeah. And I had to ask him. 2 hours later, is it true that you've been consulting with a member of the royal family?
Exactly. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Now we're going to have a look at some of the big matches coming up this weekend. We're going to do the Selco Predictor, and also it's a Porky Quiz very shortly.
The Barclays Premier League on Talk Sport with Sky Sports.
Out comes the goalkeeper and he's lifted it over the top.
Tomorrow afternoon from 5. Hear live exclusive national radio commentary of Chelsea versus Newcastle on Talk Sport.
Colaccini shoots, and scores.
The Barclays Premier League on Talk Sport with Sky Sports. Watch all 7 Sky Sports channels anywhere you like with Sky Go on your compatible mobile, tablet or laptop.
Just when you thought it was safe to turn on the radio, here comes another round of Sounds Fantastic. Can you identify this sound? Well, that's a didgeridoo full of wombats playing their credit cards like wobble boards. Now, how about this sound?
Go compare.
Sounds like that fantastic website where you can check out a whole shed-load of credit cards to make sure...
subject to status and lending criteria.
You get the one that's right for you.
From loans to plastic, they're quite fantastic. Nothing quite compares to Go Compare.
Sounds fantastic.
Young tradespeople of the UK, Juicin want you.
Juicin are looking for the Juicin Young Tradesperson of the Year, and it could be you. If you're under 30...
And a brilliant brickie.
A perfect plasterer or a cracking carpenter, make sure you visit juicintools.co.uk/Young Tradesperson of the Year before the end of February. You could win a grand's worth of tools and a top trip to see Barcelona at the Nou Camp. Olé! Juicin Young Tradesperson of the Year, proudly sponsored by Osma. Terms and conditions apply.
If you fancy a flutter on the football, a gamble on the golf, a double on the darts, or a treble on the tennis, you're in luck. Get closer to the action every weekend with Betway's Man in the Know on the Weekend Sports Breakfast with Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn. Bringing you all the form on the football, the going at Goodwood, the tries at Twickenham, and the overs at the Oval. Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on TalkSport. With Betway. For the latest offers, head to betway.com.
This Sunday from noon, exclusive national radio commentary of Arsenal versus Leicester, followed by Villa versus Liverpool. Barclays Premier League, live on Talk Sport.
I put it to riot. I put it to riot. I put it to riot. I put it to riot.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There'll be a podcast coming out a little bit later on this morning. Some big games coming up this weekend, though. Chelsea, Newcastle live on Talk Sport at 5:30. That's on Saturday. Sunday, on Valentine's Day, we've got Arsenal against Leicester, 12 o'clock kickoff, and Aston Villa against Liverpool at 2:05. There's also, of course, Spurs taking on Leicester. Now, Mr. Parry, are you ready to give us your predictions?
Yeah, certainly am.
Let's start off with Sunderland Man United, which is Saturday, 12:45, the early game.
OK, no messing here. Let's get through these as quickly as we can. Right, Sunderland versus Manchester United. I'm going to go for a Sunderland victory. 2-1.
I'm going the other way. I'm going Sunderland 1, Manchester United 2.
Right, OK.
Next one up is Bournemouth against Stoke.
Bournemouth-Stoke.
Stoke have been strange lately,
Strange, very strange. They've had Everton give them a right walloping last week, 3-0.
Yeah.
And I think they lost 5 on the run or something like that. Oh, they haven't won in 5 or something.
Yeah.
I think Bournemouth will do them over. I'm going to go another Bournemouth 2, Stoke 1.
I'm going to Bournemouth 2, Stoke 1 as well. Crystal Palace, Watford.
Crystal Palace have had funny form lately as well.
Yeah,
Watford are still doing well.
Been great,
I'm going to say, because we're going to Palace actually in April.
Yeah, April, I think it is. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. I'm going to say Crystal Palace 1, Watford 2.
I'm going Crystal Palace 0, Watford 2.
OK.
Everton against West Brom.
Everton,
your
West
team.
Brom, it's
3
my
o'clock.
team, 3 o'clock kick-off. Everton on a fantastic run at the moment. Got to keep it up before we go down to Bournemouth for the Cup the following week. So that's going to be an Everton 3, West Bromwich Albion 0 victory.
I'm going 2-1. I think. I don't know if I'm going to make that on my banking, actually.
Right.
Norwich against West Ham United.
Norwich-West Ham United. West Ham are on a roll. They're doing extremely well. Norwich are struggling. Norwich won.
Well, they won last week, though, didn't they?
Who?
Norwich.
They had 5 consecutive defeats. Who did they play last week? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I think they beat... who did they beat last week?
I can't remember. But Norwich 1, West Ham 3.
Oh, OK. I'm going to go Norwich 2, West Ham 2. I'll call that one a draw, first one. Swansea against Southampton.
Yeah, Southampton have picked up a bit of form now. Swansea still
Well, they've
struggling.
been rather good lately, haven't they?
Yeah, Swansea 1, Southampton 2.
I'm going to go 1-1 with that. There's another draw for me.
OK.
Chelsea against Newcastle.
Newcastle.
They haven't got a great record against Newcastle, Chelsea, have they?
No, they haven't. But Newcastle are really, really struggling now. Got beaten up by Everton.
But they won last
2
week
weeks
as
ago.
well, though.
They won last week, they did. You've got to say that Chelsea must win this at home. Chelsea 2, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 as well. Arsenal-Leicester, the first big one.
Intriguing game.
Don't forget, I predicted that Leicester would beat Manchester City last week.
You certainly did. I'm going to say Arsenal 2, Leicester 2.
I'm going to go Arsenal 1, Leicester 2. I'm going to say Leicester are going to win
Leicester
that one.
win again.
Wow. Aston Villa against Liverpool. Aston Villa won a game last week. I think they might win another one.
Do you know what? Liverpool are in disarray at the moment, I think. So I'm going to say, I'm going to agree with you. Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 0.
I'm going Aston Villa 2, Liverpool 1. And
Right.
Manchester City, Tottenham. This is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, fascinating game. I'm going to give that to Tottenham. I'm going to say that City's back has been broken now by Leicester. Manchester City 1, Tottenham 2.
I'm going to go Manchester City 1, Tottenham 3.
Oh, OK.
So what's your banker then?
Banker's Everton.
Is it?
Yeah, so
I suppose it would be, yeah.
that's that one. And the one that I'm least sure of is going to be... well, it's got to be... It's got to be Manchester City and Tottenham. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go. My banker's going to be Chelsea beating Newcastle, and then Leicester beating Arsenal is my perhaps a slightly unsure one.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, I'm now submitting my predictions.
Right. I'm submitting mine.
I'll submit yours in good order. Okay. Hey, by the way, we haven't mentioned Neil Warnock's new appointment up at Rotherham.
Amazing. Where's he gone? Rotherham.
Yeah. Now, what I didn't know, because I was, funny enough, I was talking to one of the guys on breakfast yesterday morning.
Yes.
Because I thought he was still at West Brom. Not West Brom. Sorry, QPR. But apparently he left there in December.
Yeah, but he was still an advisor. I mean, although...
No, I don't think he did. I think he left there completely in December.
He was director of
Director of programming?
Sorry, director of football, wasn't he? Yeah, that's right, yeah. And then they took on their new manager, who is...
Hey?
QPR's manager.
Isn't it Jimmy Floyd, what's his name?
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, absolutely right, yeah. So they got him. And I think he worked with him for a while, but... I heard a report tonight, that was all, saying that he had recently been working as an advisor at QPR.
Yeah,
that's
all.
all.
He had, but I'm telling you for a fact that he left in December.
Okay.
Why don't you just believe me?
No, I thought he'd been working up till yesterday as an advisor at QPR.
No, but this is what I'm giving you information for. I was just from somebody
I'm not sure your information's accurate.
Well, I can't tell you who told me, but I can tell you that it was from a very good source.
Oh, I see. You're saying that you have inside knowledge gleaned from within this building, yeah?
Oh, I'm not willing to give the source of it away.
Well, hang on. Didn't Neil do a show here yesterday morning?
No, that was Ray Wilkins was here yesterday.
Well, he's done it this week, hasn't he?
I think he was on Monday.
There you go.
Or maybe Tuesday.
I told you, see?
You told me what?
I told you that you must have got it from him or somebody who worked with him on Monday.
Why are you trying to out my source?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. Now, I saw something earlier, and I wonder whether you would have seen this, and if you had...
By the way, the independent newspaper's probably going to be pulled, isn't it?
They're talking about selling it, aren't they?
The Russians are selling the eye.
Talking
about selling the eye.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're talking about...
They also own the Standard
closing
as well.
down the independent.
Well, I think that was always going to be on the cards.
Well, it's been clinging on by its fingertips for a very long time. Yeah.
And the Eye has actually become quite successful, whereas the Independent itself sells even less copies now than the Eye does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But the problem is that the Eye is produced by the same staff.
Yeah,
so
of course it is.
If they get rid of one paper and they only have to produce one paper. Then what does that mean for half the staff?
It means it means they'll only need 20% of the staff, I'm afraid.
Well, it's going to be bad news.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me read you this study from
please.
Lillian Lee at Cornell University in New York, right?
What's this
Basically,
about?
this is all about how to win an argument.
Oh.
Because I thought I'd give you some tips. In fact, I'm not sure I should give you tips because what it means is that you might start winning arguments against instead of
normally
losing
do win my arguments anyway.
But it's particularly about winning arguments on social media. And what it is basically is that in order to win an argument, you should use calm language and you should not get worked up. And you should not start shouting all the time. And you should use different words from the ones that your opponent is using.
Oh, yes.
And you should do things like, particularly if you're on Twitter having an argument with somebody, use longer replies.
Oh, yes.
Back up your argument with facts, which I know is always difficult for you.
Yes.
And particularly utilising numbers and statistics.
Yes.
So that if you've got something that you really want to press home and win, the more facts that you have at your disposal and the more numbers that you can use. For example, if you were to say, well, I know for a fact that the speed of light is 186,000 miles a second.
Yes.
That would make it sound like you knew what you were talking about.
Yes.
As opposed to not knowing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just giving you a few tips.
Well,
and soften your tone.
Yeah.
A little ambiguity can support your argument, and phrases such as, it could be the case, indicate uncertainty. Although this initially appears to weaken your argument, researchers say that softening the tone makes another point of view easier to accept.
Sorry, who are you supposed to be arguing with when you put all these rules into place?
These could be arguments you're having with me on the air. They could be arguments you're having with people in the pub. They could be arguments you're having on Twitter or whatever.
Unfortunately, I've worked with some people who are so uncouth, so foul-mouthed, so bullying, so ignorant, so lacking in
Well, there are some
grace.
people you can't argue with.
That's right.
There's no point.
But when you say, you try to be reasonable and say, all you get is, I don't give a flying, you're going to do it, or you can F off, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but that's not really an argument, is it?
I'm
talking about when you're arguing an idea or a point.
What I'm saying is, it depends from which side you're coming at it. If you try to be reasonable and you get that sort of response, you've got to stop being reasonable.
Right.
You've got to match fire with fire.
Yeah, but
you say, don't you effing talk to me like that.
But that's not
which window do you want to go out of, pal?
But I'm telling you, that's not going to win you. you the argument. I'm trying to help you here. I'm trying to say to you that basically if you want to have a better class of debate,
yes,
and I often accuse you of shouting me down, right?
Yeah.
Basically, what you have to do is soften your tone, and you might win more of the arguments.
But if some filthy, ignorant oaf...
But that's not me, though. We're not talking about that.
I'm not saying it to you, actually. I'm talking about, the people who would, thought they ruled the world in Fleet Street and all that.
You're also talking about arguments about work, which is not the same thing. I'm talking about arguments about ideas.
I don't agree, because sometimes...
I mean, you'll get into arguments on Twitter with people, won't you? Sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, but sometimes being considerate and measured and evaluating the things...
Yes.
People interpret that as a sign of weakness. They just steamroll you.
No, see, I think that's where you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong. I'm right.
This research shows that you are wrong. And the research says...
Well, who's done the research?
I told you, it's a woman called Lillian Lee at Cornell University in New York.
Right, well, I'm sorry, but the Americans have a very strange view of interpersonal relationships.
You think?
Much different to us. Of course they do. You're at a dinner party in New York.
Well, I can see what's going wrong here, because I've suggested to you that you should back up your arguments with facts.
Yes.
That's where it's all fallen down, because you don't have any facts.
Well, she's got no facts. She's just got opinion. She's got opinion.
No, her study shows...
What are her facts?
Her study shows that...
Her study is her interpretation of things.
No. Oh, so you don't like this study?
No, I don't like this study. No, it's rubbish.
You like all the studies you introduce?
Well, I read my journals and...
Well, where are your facts to back up the fact that her study is rubbish?
It's my opinion.
It's your opinion?
Well, what are her facts? You haven't told me what her facts are yet.
Well, her facts are that she did research over a whole period of time in which she studied the reactions of people on social media in particular to the way that people had arguments and who won the arguments.
And how is that factual?
And how it changed the debate.
How is that factual?
Well, because it's research that's been done over a period of time and a conclusion has been drawn because of the examples that she's seen.
No, she didn't put lie detector electrodes on people's heads to make sure they were telling the truth when she was speaking.
It's
like
not about that.
She hasn't got any facts. She hasn't got any facts. Factless.
I think you're incapable of seeing what the point of an argument is.
I'm not incapable of seeing the point of an argument.
You're illustrating now.
Rubbish.
You're illustrating now because you just get abusive and shouty.
I'm not shouting.
You are. You see, you're getting calmer now.
Yeah.
And if you get calmer, you've got more chance of winning the argument.
I believe
but
in calm.
instead of shouting and being abusive, you've got more chance of winning your argument. Because people often notice that whenever I get you in a corner, you just start shouting.
No, that's not true.
That's what you do.
No, it's not true. It's when you try to raise your voice and shout me down that I have to raise my voice to a higher pitch.
But I hardly ever do that.
Simple as that, man.
I hardly ever do that. Anyway, you'll have plenty of opportunity to win an argument coming up next because it's time for the Porky Quiz.
Drive on Talk Sport with Adrian Durham and the man who once went missing in the rhubarb triangle but lived to tell the tale, Darren. The Yorkshire Sound and the Peterborough Fury of sports broadcasting.
Shut up and drive.
To say I'm angry is an understatement.
The Drive Time Sports Radio show that's anything but low profile.
So, Drive-mobile, let's go!
Masters of Drive Time Radio, Adrian Durham and Darren Goff. This afternoon from 4.
Drive it, and they will come.
On Talk Sport.
Hillary Clinton, Hillary, she's our guy. The great state of Arkansas looks like she got off the set of LA Law, and that's totally cool by me. Yeah, I vote for Hillary. All right, Drew, give me another one.
I often boast to be an expert on the subject that we're doing the quiz on, but I can genuinely and honestly say, having followed the career fortunes of that woman, I am an expert on Hillary.
Excellent.
I said now, H-I-double-L.
What a great song that is, eh? Hillary.
Well, I think it's a bit self-serving, isn't it?
Well, that's horrendous, though. If I was her, I'd use that for my campaign.
I don't think I would. I think I'd think that people thought I was a right big head.
Not that they think that at the moment.
No.
Now, Hillary Clinton, who is, of course, running for the presidential job, is the subject of our quiz. You were very bullish, actually. On Monday, I think you demanded to do a quiz on Hillary Clinton.
Yes,
as ever, a series of 10 questions, which I have here. If you get one right, you will hear this answer.
He's a lot more obsessed with me than I am with him.
And if you get one wrong, you'll hear this.
Do you have any idea?
How about that?
I do. Yeah, I quite like that. Ooh.
Okay. Are you ready for question number one?
Yeah.
What did Hillary want to be as a child when she grew up?
What did she want to be?
Yeah. What did she want to be?
I mean, she once told her friend she wanted to be a nurse or something. Thinking aloud.
It's something that she is quite well known for wanting to be. Let's put it that way.
Okay. She wanted to be. I think she wanted to be... Now, I'm thinking aloud now. It was in something to do with helping the community and all that kind of thing, a sort of social worker type thing. That's what she really wanted to be. And that manifested itself in her expressing her desire to be a social worker.
Incorrect.
No.
Do you have any idea?
She wanted to be an astronaut. When she grew up.
Rubbish.
And she wrote to NASA specifically to ask them if she could be an astronaut, and they wrote back to her saying they were terribly sorry that women were not allowed to be astronauts.
Well, that's rubbish. I've never read that in any book. I've read about Hillary Clinton. I know where you found that from.
Well, it's
that's an invention.
Well-known fact about her. Question number 2. Hillary won a Grammy in 1997. What was it for?
A Grammy?
Yes.
She's a politician and the wife of the President of the United States of America. She doesn't go around making TV programmes.
Well, if she made a TV programme, she wouldn't get a Grammy for that, would she?
Eh?
Huh? That would be an Emmy.
A Grammy? What do you get Grammys for?
Well, I can't give you any more clues.
Hang on, she got a Grammy? A Grammy? I mean, this sounds like a ridiculous... A Grammy's given to people who act on the stage, I think. A Grammy? Or is it TV? That's an Emmy? Grammy? Gramophone? Record? Let me think. I'm thinking aloud. Let me think. A Grammy? Okay, it must have been for something she made to appeal for money for displaced people overseas.
Incorrect.
No.
Do you have any idea?
She won for Best Spoken Word Album, which was her own audio version of her book, It Takes a Village.
Oh, what a rubbish question.
Why is it
ridiculous.
rubbish? It's a great question.
That's very unknown.
All right, question number 3. What year did Bill and Hillary get married?
Bill and Hillary.
You must know this one.
Let me think. They met together in Yale. Thinking aloud.
They met together in jail, did you say?
In Yale.
Oh.
You idiot. In Yale Law School. I'm working backwards to when it all started for them, and I will say 1975.
Correct.
Hey!
He's a lot more obsessed with me than I am with him.
So you get a proper question, I can give you a proper answer.
1 out of 3. Question number 4. Hillary has served on the boards of 2 major corporations. Can you name either of them?
2 major corporations. Because she was at the Rose Law Firm in Arkansas, where she was the first woman partner, and Arkansas is the home of Walmart, I would guess Walmart. Thinking aloud. And that's Sam Walton, obviously. And the other one is, I think it's either Disney or McDonald's. So I'm going to say...
So what's your answer then?
My answer is Walmart and McDonald's.
Well, you don't have to name 2, you don't have to name 1.
Oh, I thought you said she on 2.
No, I said, can you name either of them?
Oh, right, Walmart.
Correct.
He's a lot more obsessed with me than I am with him.
There you go.
It was actually Walmart and TCBY.
Oh, right, okay.
Do you know what that is?
No.
That's the country's best yoghurt.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
which comes from Arkansas as well. That's 2 out of 4.
Right.
Question number 5.
Yes.
What was the name of the Vice Deputy White House counsel who committed suicide in Fort Macy Park?
It's very interesting, this, because I'm thinking aloud again. It was rumoured strongly after his death. And I tell you why he was appointed at the White House. He was a partner at the Rose Law Firm in Arkansas, and the Clintons took him with them.
You don't get any extra points for elaborating.
No, because they thought that there were too many secrets left back in Arkansas, so they took him to the White House to give him a job in the legal department there. His name was Vince Foster.
Correct.
Thank you. Hey!
He's a lot more obsessed with me than I am with him.
3 out of 5. Now, would you say that after what you normally accuse me of doing, which is giving you 2
hard questions
after the first 2,
and
then making them harder after that? Would you say that's been the case?
I would say you gave me proper questions 3, 4 and 5. The first 2 were ludicrous questions.
I see. OK, question number 6.
Yes.
Which TV quiz show did Hillary win several times when she was a student?
TV quiz show. Right, it's that one where it goes backwards. You understand what I mean?
No.
Think loud now. No, you know this. American TV quiz that Anne-Marie Finn used to sit there and watch it all day, right? And it's I think it's the American equivalent of the Pointless show that we have in this country. Thinking aloud. And it's in
thinking aloud.
Yeah. No, instead of giving answers, you actually give the question. You give the question. So it's for
what's the name of it?
It's for brain box people like Hillary Clinton, and it's called.
What's the name of it? I can't really give you a clue.
No, but it's you don't. The idea is that you come up with the question, not the answer. They give the answer and say, "What is the question?"
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, God.
You're going to come up with a name.
Well, Anne-Marie Finn, who was the wife of our friend, the late correspondent Phil Finn, used to sit there in the house all day and watch it.
Why are you stalling?
Well, because I don't know the name of it, but I can see it now. I can see the contestants. I can see everything.
All right.
I don't know the name.
If I said to you it began with a J...
J. Let me see. Hang on. I'm thinking. Hang on. Jeopardy. It's Jeopardy.
Incorrect.
No.
Any idea?
You bum.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What was it?
The name of the quiz show was called College Bowl. Very popular show in the 60s and 70s on NBC.
College Bowl? What was that all about?
It was a bit like University Challenge. That kind of thing.
But the one I told you was Jeopardy, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, but that was wrong.
God, you led me down a garden path
not
there.
at all.
Yes, you did.
I gave you a clue. Unfortunately, it was the wrong answer.
No,
Question
you
number
didn't.
7.
You misled me by saying it starts with J.
Well, the thing you wanted to know about started with J.
That's outrageous.
Question number 7. When did Hillary change her maiden name?
When did she change her maiden name? Her maiden name? She must have changed her maiden name. Well, I'll give you the sequence of events here. She moved to Arkansas and joined Rose Law Firm in 1971, I think, when she shacked up with Bill. They didn't get married until 1975. And she then became Hillary Rodham Clinton.
I'm looking for a year.
Sorry?
I'm looking for a year.
Yeah. Well, they got married in 75, so... And she got married and called herself Hillary Rodham Clinton. Her full name is Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton.
Is it?
Yeah, because she used to be Hillary Diane Rodham.
Okay.
She added Clinton. I'm going to have to say when she first sort of associated with... Well, I suppose when she got married. I'm going to have to say... Oh, hang on. I know. So she got married in 75... And he became... Hang on.
I'll have to hurry you.
No, I'm thinking
I'll have to hurry you.
He became governor of Arkansas in 1979.
Incorrect.
Do you have any idea?
It was 1982 when she decided that her name should be Clinton because it was having a bad effect on voters who didn't think that she was the right sort of...
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think in 82...
That's true. That's the answer. 3 out of 7. Question number 8.
Yeah.
What was her Secret Service code name when she was First Lady?
When she was First Lady, her Secret Service code name, it began with E. Or was it V, Viper? Hang on. I'm thinking aloud here. E or V, it was... Was it Everglade?
Is that your answer?
My answer is Everglade.
Incorrect.
No!
Do you have any idea?
It was Evergreen.
Oh, my God. Well, I get half for that,
Why?
surely.
No.
Come on,
Why?
I said Everglade.
You don't get half. It's wrong.
Oh, come off
No.
it.
3 out of 8.
I got... think of the word.
It's wrong.
E-V-E-R-G.
Well, would you like to go off and climb Mount Evergreen?
E-V-E-R-G.
Or would you prefer to go to Mount Everest? Would you like to go to the Everglades in Florida?
I got the first 5 letters right.
Doesn't matter. It's wrong.
I should get half a point for that at least.
It's wrong. No,
you've got to think again about award me half a point.
Absolute rubbish. No, 3 out of 8. Question number 9. You should know this one. This is a news question. What percentage of the vote did Hillary win in the New Hampshire primary?
New Hampshire?
Yeah.
New Hampshire.
That was this week.
Yes, that's this week. She won... let me see. She won 21%.
Incorrect.
No!
Do you have any idea?
She won 38%.
No, she didn't win that much. I didn't think she did.
Sanders got 60.4%. Now, you got 3 out of 10. Can you get 4 out of 10 with this question? Who was Hillary's predecessor as Secretary of State?
Predecessor Secretary of State... Now, she went in with Obama, the previous Secretary of State with George W. Bush. I'm not sure if he served the full 8 years, but I'm going to have to guess at it. Secretary of State. I'm not sure if ill health made he had to give the job up towards the end of the second Bush term, but I'm going to have to say Donald Rumsfeld.
Incorrect.
No!
Do you have any idea?
It was Condoleezza Rice.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. Condoleezza Rice was her predecessor as Secretary of State.
No. Condoleezza Rice was Secretary of State in the Clinton presidency, not in the Republican one between Clinton and Hillary.
Condoleezza Rice is Republican.
Condoleezza Price.
Condoleezza Price.
Condoleezza Price.
No, Condoleezza Price is not the name. Condoleezza Rice.
Condoleezza Rice lived down the road from me in Washington, D.C.
Did she?
And that was in the early 90s.
Okay.
When she was Secretary of State.
For who?
Clinton.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm certain.
You're wrong about that.
No, I'm not.
No.
Well,
It's 3 out of 10.
Condoleezza Rice wasn't with George W. Bush.
She was.
No, it was Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah, Rumsfeld was in administration, but not Secretary of State.
Yeah, I think he was.
No.
I'm going to check that one out. I'm sure that's wrong.
3 out of 10 is what I've got from the independent quizmasters.
I think that once again I've demonstrated extreme knowledge on my subject.
I think you have,
But your questions were so utterly
They're not my questions.
ridiculous.
I don't know why you keep saying they're my questions.
And
They're
I've
not
got
my questions.
Evergreen. I've got Evergreen.
You said Everglade.
Oh, but the last 3 letters.
Well,
all but the last 3 letters.
It's a completely different word. It's a completely different word.
That's a lot of gerrymandering.
That was the Porky
there.
Quiz. 3 out of 10. I think you did very well.
No.
I'll give him a round of applause. This is Talk Sport.
Big finish, that's cool by me. I vote for Hillary Clinton. All right, get him, girl.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that's always ready to take on any challenge.
Join me, Alan Brazil, and a different co-host every weekday morning from 6 a.m. as we tackle all the big stories of the day.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on Earth. Find out more at ford.co.uk.
The kitchen has changed, and with up to 40% off a selection of ready-to-fit Wix kitchens, you can enjoy a new one in no time. Plus cabinets from as little as £25 and worktops from £35. Is it time to change yours? Wix. Let's do it right. For offer details, visit wix.co.uk.
Landlords. Direct Line guaranteed to beat any quote for the same cover. Can your landlord insurance do that? Search Direct Line Landlord. New customers only. Qualifying criteria apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
He's got the numbers on the players, the triumphs and defeats. Got the form on the football weekend and the rumors on the streets. Get all the stats and all the facts with his football form report. Stay on the ball on Friday night with Sky Bet and TalkSport.
Get expert soccer speculation on all the weekend's big games. Stay on the ball on Kickoff, the Players Lounge. On TalkSport with Sky Bet, making betting better. Check out the latest price boost now at skybet.com. Gambleware.co.uk.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
He smashed it into the back of the net.
Football for the people.
Come on, give us a go.
Talk Sport.
Our galaxy itself contains 100 billion stars. It's 100,000 light years side to side. It bulges in the middle, 16,000 light years thick, but out by us it's just 3,000 light years wide. We're 30,000 light years from galactic central point. We go round every 200 million years. And our galaxy is only one of millions of billions in this amazing and expanding universe.
That's one of those great Monty Python songs, isn't it? What are you doing?
Yeah, what's it mean?
Well, it's all about the universe. It's
the universe,
he's walking
okay,
through the universe.
Yeah.
It's one of those Monty Python movies. Now, here's Pete, who says, only 3 out of 10, but impressive, Porky. Finally a subject apart from chocolate you seem to know something about.
I knew everything about it. I just didn't get the right questions, you know.
You didn't get the right answers, I think.
No. You can get unlucky, with these questions.
Yeah, you can. Dazza says, if a university gave a pass mark of 30%, we'd all be experts.
Yes.
Stephen says expert on nothing.
Yeah, but here, I've got this one from Patrick. Brilliant to bait him into jeopardy, MG. See, so you did bait me.
I didn't do anything of the sort.
You did. You baited me into it.
You thought it was a jeopardy, and so, I mean, I went out of my way to give you a clue about it, but it doesn't mean it was right.
I think it's disgraceful. Did you know that there's an increasing number of complaints from the public about the noise decibel level of sirens on ambulances and fire engines?
Really? Yeah. Well, you were telling me the other week, were you not, about some new fire engine appliance, which is designed to get large people out of buildings and all that. Yeah. I haven't noticed they're any louder than they used to be.
Well, the ambulances in particular are very, very loud now, and people complain of two things, right? These are official complaints which have been delivered to local authorities. I know this because I have inside information, okay?
Right. Okay.
They complain, one, of the noise on the pavement when one goes past, piercingly loud, and I know what they mean, but the other one is how drivers are being shaken up and shocked by having an ambulance come right up behind them, and then instead of doing the normal thing, which would be to hoot your horn Or
well, sometimes what they have is, particularly at night, and I see them sometimes when I'm driving in, is they just have the blue light.
Or the blue light. They come up behind a car and then they switch on their sirens, and it's such a crashingly loud noise.
Right.
It can easily disorientate. It's so loud. The driver in front who then panics.
Well, there is one of those. I mean, one of the things that I must say I don't like is when if you say you're walking on one of the streets of London, and then you see an ambulance coming, it's got the blue lights on, but as it comes up sometimes to a junction,
that's right,
and just as it passes you, it'll switch it on.
That's what I'm saying.
And it is kind of ear piercing.
It is ear piercing.
But on the other hand, I mean,
it does more harm than good.
Well, except they are
people's eardrums
in an emergency situation.
I think it's a damn disgrace. Hey, listen, by the way, have you seen all the speculation over the last couple of days about Posh and Becks?
Yes, about living 6 months apart. Or something
that's
like
right. Isn't that a disgrace? Isn't it a disgrace that people even question it?
I mean, I know they're two of your favourite people.
They are. They're two very successful people, and of course they're not going to spend every day waking up in the same house and meeting for dinner in the same house with their children at night.
They could.
They can't. They work on different continents.
Yeah, I know, but they've got so much money. I mean, they don't need to necessarily work on different continents.
Yeah, but you see, this is what you don't understand.
What?
People don't just work for money, they're driven. They want to achieve things in life.
But what I'm saying
they want to succeed.
But what I'm saying is, for example, you have to tailor your work load and your work commitments to your family, don't you? If you've got kids in a particular school, you can't suddenly go, right, I'm going to spend half my life travelling around the world doing jobs that I can't be at home for.
She's one of the world's most successful fashion designers.
Yeah.
He is just an icon in everything he does. Right. He's wanted all over the place for adverts in Japan.
Although apparently his football team thing is not going so well in Miami. He's having to kind of try and get more money to come in from other investors now.
I mean, that to me seems like a hapless venture. I just don't know why he's got involved in the first place. You know, setting up a football club in America. I don't know what that'll lead to. Maybe it'll lead to a massive profit or something. I don't know.
I think it might eventually, but I think I think it's taken longer to put it together than he thought it would, you know?
Yeah, but the point is, I hate people having a go at the two of them because I keep telling you, first of all, she was one of the most successful girl singers we've ever had in the world's most successful ever girl band.
True.
He is just so iconic. It's difficult now to actually break down what he's been most successful at, whether it's a male model or a footballer or a personality or whatever.
Presumably he would want to be best known for being a footballer, wouldn't he?
Well, I suppose so, but I mean, he's been much, much more than that, hasn't he, since he retired?
Yeah.
But the other guy who apparently, and I'm only reading this from the newspapers, who is going to make a decision on this is Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently Elton John still tours for 6 months a year.
Yeah.
He still does seasons in Las Vegas.
Right.
He's in Japan and all that. His partner in life, the guy called David Furnish, is at home running his business, so to speak.
Yeah. And we saw that rash of stories, didn't we, about people saying that Furnish is messing up everybody's sort of private old connection with Elton John.
And he's just said recently, Elton John said, David had to rationalise my business. It was out of control and all this kind of stuff. Apparently Elton John has made up with his mother, by the way, after 8 years in engagement. Yeah, over David Furnish, you know.
Well, that's good.
Telling her not to talk to some of their friends or something. But what I was going to say is I read only recently that Elton John has decided I'm going to cut down on touring now because he has young children who are grown and he wants to see more of them.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, the Beckham children... No, they're not all grown up, are they? They've still got the little girl, Harper. So,
I think they have.
So they've got a lot of considerations there. But I just hate people having a go at them. They only have a go at them because they're one of the world's... They're probably the world's most successful couple, aren't they, when you think about it?
I suppose you might say that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's Brad Pitt and Angelina and all that. They're certainly in that class, aren't they?
Yeah, I would suppose so. And they've been together probably longer than Brad and Angelina.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. Yeah. Been
despite
a long
various
time.
things.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of other things to mention to you before, because this is the end of the week, of course. Over the course of the weekend, we'll put out some more information on what you can find on the twomics.co.uk.
Yeah.
Because we've got that show coming up in Manchester.
We certainly have.
On April the 9th. We've got T-shirts, we've got DVDs you can get on the twomics.co.uk as well.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you very quickly what you make of this new Top Gear top team. Because quite a few people have asked us about this, and there's seven people are going to be part of it.
Do you know what? Despite the fact that I'm sure it was a very good programme, I don't know why, I just never got into watching Top Gear, the original one, with Jeremy Clarkson. No.
It is very funny.
Everybody told me it was very funny, and Andy Townsend, my old mate, was a big fan of it. He used to rabbit on about it all the time, you know what I mean? Which is fine, and I'm sure it was a great show. And I do like Clarkson as a personality. So I really don't know, but I have to say...
Seems like an awful lot of people for one show.
I was about to say, you and I have done, spectacular shows on radio and on stage and all that kind of stuff. And to be one of seven voices wouldn't work for me.
No.
It just wouldn't.
No.
And I don't know how it's going to work for Chris Evans, because Chris Evans is a major personality.
Well, yeah, but he can be the master of ceremonies,
who demands a lot of airtime. Yeah, but that's okay. But he's got some very big names on that show. Matt LeBlanc is a very famous actor in America. He's there to garner an American audience.
Sure.
Other people he's taken on, you just can't sit back and take your 3 minutes an hour because Chris Evans wants you there as a prop.
Well, I guess they might. I mean, depending on what they were doing before, they might quite like that.
I mean, look, I'm not knocking Chris Evans. He's a brilliant broadcaster, and clearly this is a major project he's put a lot of thought into. What I'm saying is, good luck to him for putting the team together. Yeah. I'm not sure I'd want to be one of the other 7.
But do you get the sense as well that the other 3 are waiting to see what the first one looks like before they kind of launch themselves?
Who Clarkson and his 2 cohorts? Yeah. I think they're just going to get on with life and pick up this £60 million contract that they signed with whoever it was, Amazon or Netflix or something, was it?
Amazon,
Amazon, yeah. Good luck to them.
Okay.
Good luck to them all.
Good luck to everybody. Porky's been very magnanimous this week. I might give him an extra point in the quiz just for his magnanimity, but obviously I'd have to clear that with the independent quiz masters.
Quite right.
This is Talk Sport.
Enjoy bags of banter this afternoon from 1 on the Falls panel with Hawksby and Jacobs on Talk Sport. With Burton's Fish and Chips. It's the full flavour weekly feature for live debate, celebrity sports predictions and bags of tasty topical chip chat. The Falls panel, a satisfying portion of great British fun. This afternoon from 1 with Hawksby and Jacobs on Talk Sport. With Burton's Fish and Chips. Kicks hunger into the back of the net.
Everyone knows that all the best things come in 3s. 3 Amigos, 3 Stooges, 3 Lions. And right now, if you sign up to 888 Sport, you'll get treble odds on your first bet. Play with 888 Sport and harness the power of 3 with treble odds on your first bet. New customers only. Minimum £5 bet to qualify. Maximum £10 bet at treble odds. Bet at normal odds. Extra winnings added as a free bet within 72 hours. Free bets must be used within 7 days and are not included in any returns. See site for full terms and conditions. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
The new BMW 118i M Sport 5-door sports hatch. Monthly rentals from £259 per month. Pure BMW. £4,199 initial rental. 36-month hire agreement from BMW Financial Services. Subject to status and availability for new vehicles ordered by 31st of March and registered by 30th of June 2016. UK only, guarantees may be required. Mileage and other conditions apply when you return the vehicle.
This season, 6 brave bands of seasoned warriors will clash once again in a mighty battle for Grand Slam glory. Scrum down for the 6 Nations. This afternoon, hear a rock and roll preview of another massive rugby weekend from Talk Sport's top team. Hawksby and Jacobs' 6 Nations preview this afternoon from 1 on Talk Sport with ITV, taking you into the heart of the action for this year's 6 Nations. Get in the game.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Today you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go do it all again, you better catch your own train.
So here we are again at the end of another week. Quite a successful week, I would say.
Yes.
Now, I'm coming under increasing pressure to offer you another half a point.
Yeah, I should think
for
so.
your Everglade, even though it was completely wrong.
I got as far as Everger.
So you got the first 4 letters of a word.
I didn't. E-V-E-R-G.
Right.
That's
so
5.
the first 5 letters of a word.
Yes.
And the last 4 wrong.
No.
You said laid instead of reen. So, Everglade instead of evergreen.
It's more than 50% of the letters right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't get the answer right if you just get the wrong
word. Why have you
word.
raised this again?
Because I've been put under pressure by our executive producer to award you an extra half a point.
Hey!
So in order to allay any kind of, undue criticism, I'll give you 3.5 out of 10. Which is about your average, I'd have to say.
It's not my average at all.
Now, where are you up to this weekend? Because obviously there's a lot of football to watch. There's some rugby to watch. We haven't really got your rugby sort of predictions, but we don't need to do that now.
Minute. But actually, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm seeking advice on a bunny rabbit called Atlas.
What?
Atlas.
Why?
Fluffy, friendly, likes nothing more than a big cuddle. Atlas. Right. At 7 months old...
Well, you're going to make a stew out of it?
No, I'm not. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to try and find him a home.
Why?
At 7 months old, he's already 2 foot 6 inches long. He weighs nearly a stone, and he's going to get bigger.
Right.
He's the same size.
Why don't you take him home and put him in your place?
Well, hang on. You couldn't put him in a penthouse, but he's the same size as West Highland Terrier. But his breed, which is called the Continental Giant, can measure twice that size when fully grown.
So
he could
like
be
4
2 stone.
foot.
He could be 4 foot and 2 stone.
That's a big rabbit.
It's a huge rabbit, and the problem is he did have
as big as the one in that movie Donnie Darko.
Yeah, that's right. And he did have a home, but the owners just found him too big, and they've given him to a charity. And now they're trying to find. And guess what he eats?
Right.
This is the
an awful lot, I would have thought.
Yeah, the new family will also need plenty of food. Continental Giants can live to be 12 years old. They eat 2,000 carrots and 700 apples a year.
Blimey.
That's 40 carrots a week.
That's a lot, isn't it?
So divide 40 by 7. So that's 6 carrots a day.
Yeah.
And 700 apples a year. That's 50. That's, what's that? 14 apples a week. So 2 apples a day.
Yeah.
7 carrots a day for the next 12 years.
Okay.
12
years?
Yeah.
Blimey.
And
you
it's
can
in
almost
Scotland.
take something that big for a walk, couldn't you?
He was handed into the Scottish Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals in Scotland at their Glasgow centre.
Okay. Well, we'll see how much progress you've made on that one over the course of the weekend.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a sick dog to look after. He's got some kind of kennel cough, apparently.
What's wrong with him?
He's got some kind of kennel cough, apparently. He had an injection yesterday.
Kennel cough? What does that mean?
Which you normally get. It's like an infection you get from other dogs, but he hasn't been in a kennel, so I don't know where he's got it from.
But, poor dog.
They do get it, apparently.
Well, we've got to look after that dog. He forms a major part of the roadshow.
Well, indeed he does. So, well, thank you for thinking of him. We shall see. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mikes at the Two Mikes on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mikes TV.
There is something out there.
Yeah.
It started maybe a billion light years ago. Now, do you know what a billion light years is?
Tell me what that is.
Well, that's the speed of light going on for a billion years.
Okay.
So how far do you think you could travel?
I've no idea. A billion light years away, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. The speed of light is infinitesimal, but you can't measure it, right?
No. Well, you can measure it.
Well, you can measure it, but it's a lot faster than the Concorde. We've already proved the theory that if you could invent a spaceship that travelled faster than the speed of time, then you go backwards in time.
Faster than the speed of time?
Yeah.
But what's the speed of time?
Light. It's faster than the speed of light.
Light time.
Which is time. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm glad we sorted it all out.
If you love the Two Mikes podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
You have manifest gifts of personality and intelligence.
Why are you talking like that?
Well, I'm talking like a judge.